I think we're ready to call the meeting to order.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Robert Parkhurst.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Christine Lowe.
Present.
Councilmember Edward Garcia.
Present.
Councilmember Jean Bass.
Here.
And Councilmember Callie Krebs.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Great. All right. I believe tonight that it says that I have the Pledge of Allegiance and Inspiration. I had it last meeting.
I do.
Yes. And are you prepared for that?
Yes.
Great.
Well, it was on
Well.
our agenda, so, thank goodness.
Well, let me turn it over to you then.
All right, please rise if you can, if you're able. Put your hand over your heart. Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming to our council meeting, and thank you to those at home. From September 15th through October 15th, it is, what? Am I not supposed to start? Oh, sorry.
I'm listening.
You're just smiling at me.
You're going to mention my heritage. I don't know.
We recognize National Hispanic Heritage Month, so I thought I'd tell you a little bit about our history of Sierra Madre. So the Sierra Madre in the Los Angeles area is now called the San Gabriel Mountains, was a poetic Spanish name for the Mother Mountains given by early missionaries. The land was initially inhabited by our Tongva people, with early settlements like Sonoya existing in the area. The Tongva used a native trail, later known as the Mount Wilson Trail, to transport timber from the mountains for the mission's construction. After Mexico gained independence from Spain in 1821, the land owned by the mission was nationalized by the Mexican government, and this land was granted to Mexican citizens, with Scotsman Hugo Reed receiving a grant in 1941 called Rancho Santa Anita. Mexico ceded California to the U.S. after the Mexican-American War in 1846 to 1848. And at that time, Rancho Santa Anita was later purchased by Elias Jackson Baldwin in 1875, who sold a portion to Nathaniel Carter in 1881. Carter would then establish the foundation for the city of Sierra Madre. And that's it.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. So we'll move on to approval of the meeting agenda. Does anybody have anything they'd like to change on the agenda? All right. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, now we'll move on to the meeting minutes of September 9th.
Actually, you have the report out.
Report out from closed session.
Oh, thank you. It's not on my list here. Yes, we need a report out from closed session.
Mayor, the city council met on 4 separate agenda items in closed session. The first was conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation. This was in regards to the case City of Sierra Madre versus Edison International. In closed session, the Councilmember Garcia motioned and Councilmember Goss seconded a motion to authorize the city attorney to execute a conflict waiver and informed written consent to joint representation. That was approved unanimously by the city council. Second, there was a conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation. This is regarding Protect Sierra Madre versus City of Sierra Madre. No reportable action was taken. Third, there was a conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation. This involved the case of City of Sierra Madre versus Meta Platforms et al. And no reportable action was taken. And the fourth item was conference with legal counsel regarding initiation of litigation. And again, no reportable action was taken.
Great, thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, please.
I would just
Yes.
like to
Thank you.
note that with respect to items 1 and 3 on the closed session agenda that I recused, and so the unanimous decision with respect to number 1 was of the 4 attending council members. Thank you.
Thank you for that. All right. Now we'll move on to the approval of meeting minutes from September 9th. Madam City Clerk, did you receive any comments or edits to the September 9th minutes?
Yes, sir. The city clerk's office received an email from Mayor Parkhurst making non-substantive
suggestions for changes on formatting or for typos and for duplication of language.
All right, great. Any edits from the dais here? Then I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Now we go on to reading resolutions and ordinances by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. City council reports. Who would like to go first?
Mr. Mayor,
Please.
I have a short one. I attended the Community Services Commission meeting last week, and it was a very nice meeting where a lot of the summer activity after action reports were given, and as has been the case for many summers now, is very successful in terms of participation and sponsorship and I think general enjoyment. And then there was discussion around many of the many events that will be happening this fall, most of which I suspect are in your announcement package. And so just a very exciting time because there's lots of things planned, and we had a great summer slate. So that's all.
All right. Thank you very much. Who would like to go next?
I'll go next.
Great.
Had the pleasure of attending the Library Ad Hoc Committee meeting back on the 16th, and all I can report is a very positive meeting. All kinds of good news about the ongoing construction of our new library. Much progress was being reported. The roof is on, drywalling is beginning, wires are being pulled, tiles are going up in the bathrooms. The library is starting to take shape. So it was very, very positive. I think all the questions that we had for the principals were answered very fully and satisfactorily, and everyone in the room was very pleased with the way things are going. On the 18th, I went to the Council of Governments meeting, or COG, and got to hear an address from the new, if you didn't know this, Metro is creating their own new police department. It's about a 5-year plan. It's going to take a lot of time and effort because they're starting from ground up, brand new department. But the new chief was there, and he addressed the meeting and got into a lot of the details, a lot of the weeds of what they're doing. And then he took questions, and a number of us kind of quizzed him on, how are they going to approach us here in the San Gabriel Valley, particularly the A-line. And he acknowledged that, it's going to take a while, but he's fully aware of the issues that we have out here, and some of the things they're talking about implementing over the next few years, I think, are going to make travel on our trains safer. But for now, they're still they're in their infancy. They're still trying to build a department. Planning Commission was right after that, and the commission was doing what we asked them to do in our last meeting. They started working on signage policies as we'd requested, and they were making some progress, but didn't finish that. That's all I've got, Mr. Mayor.
Great. Thank you very much. Over here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So a short report on September 11th, 6:30 in the morning. I attended the remembrance at the firehouse for the victims and those who served the public on September 11th. It's always a very moving, sobering event. Our chiefs gave Chief Bartlett in particular this year gave a little speech regarding the events and our remembrance. I think this is 24 years now. It was very well attended. Not as well attended as a couple years back, but we still have a lot of actually people in this room. I see that we're there as well. That never forget and still remember. And I know it's difficult to wake up early on a Thursday and attend the meeting, but again, it was a very a memorable event. Later in the day, I did attend for, I think it was about an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes, the Ad Hoc Revenue Committee meeting before going into the classroom to teach. Maybe you'll expand on that, Mr. Mayor, but from what I heard, our city manager gave a wonderful presentation. I don't know how deep we were in slides because, of course, I was asking lots of questions. As far as our budget's concerned, really breaking our budget down on a granular level, looking at the history of the budget and expenditures and revenues sources, and talking about
potential forecast on the future. So that was really well received from what the part that I was part of, but I did have to leave early, and that concludes my report.
Great, thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. So on 9/9, I attended a Building Fire Adapted Communities session that was put on by the Institution for Local Government, and it was really interesting to hear how fire science has changed and how fire movement is different and how we need to adapt to that, and also how we need to, as government, make different legislation to look at protecting homes and neighborhoods and such in our future. On 9/11, I also attended the event at the Sierra Madre Fire Department in remembrance of our events of 9/11. On 9/20, I attended our first ever Latino Heritage Fiesta. It had fantastic music, great events. It was really fun to see everybody come out. It was a fun time. And then yesterday, I attended the Library Board of Trustees meeting. Pretty exciting stuff. Again, we had a report out on all the progress and how close we are. We also got to hear about what our ribbon cutting day is going to uphold. Leia's in the back is celebrating. It's very exciting. One really great takeaway that I took from this was also that the oak tree that we had to remove that was on the west side of the building, they saved the wood, and they're going to be making 2 benches out of that will be at the library site for benches right, I think on the outside, right where the tree was. And I've been asked to share something from the Library Foundation because they weren't going to be able to be here tonight. The Matching Donation Challenge. 20 days in, we unlocked Bill Patzer's gift of $20,000 matching gift. So we have a total of $40,000 that's going to go towards the FF&E. And then we also have 2 donors who added $15,000 collectively to extend the challenge. So please, please, please continue to donate. It's a dollar for dollar match. So once the community raises $15,000, it will be matched with a special thanks to the Creeves, to Kelly Creeves, as well as someone else that has also matched that donation. So I think our council's doing fantastic work at really putting our foot where our mouth is and really supporting our local library. So this is a challenge of potentially $70,000 with these matching gifts. They've currently raised $7,300. So they are 49% away from the 15,000 challenge. So please, please, please donate before October 15th. And then also they would like the Community Foundation, the Sierra Madre Community Foundation would also like to say they still have tickets available, and they will be having their wine and whiskey on Saturday. They're sorry they couldn't make it to the announcement. That's Saturday from 6:30 to 9:30. You can buy tickets online, and yeah, it's a great enjoyment, a great event.
Fantastic. Do we have a date for the opening of the library?
Yes, that is on June 6th, correct? Yeah, June 6th. It'll also be the launch of the summer reading program, which is for adults also, not just children, everybody.
Excellent. All right. So I will echo what some of the other council members said. Got up early on September 11th for the remembrance. It was the Public Safety Departments did another outstanding job with that. I think they're already planning for next year's being the 25th and doing a deeper remembrance for that day. Also that day, as Councilmember Garcia said, we had the ad hoc committee. I was here in the room, and there were lots of really good questions, lots of great feedback. It was a really good session, and we are having a follow-up session tomorrow night here at 5:30.
It's actually a virtual meeting.
It's all virtual.
Yeah, and so the agenda is posted, and folks can, if they're interested, they can sign up for the link and come to the meeting.
It's 100% virtual, but at that meeting, we're going to be having a conversation with a company called UFI that will be doing a forecasting model that will help us look at potential future revenue scenarios and future revenue sources, and allow us to do a deeper dive into the ongoing fiscal health of the city. So I happen to be walking through here on the 15th when the Community Services Commission was going on, and the one thing I'll add to that, there were 2 presentations of Eagle Scout projects that have been going on in the city, and so that was always fun to see those, and it's a great opportunity for youth to give service to the city and do valuable projects.
Mr. Mayor, on that point, I would ask everyone to visit the Mount Wilson Trail Park, because apparently the turtle, the Eponius Turtle Park, has been repainted and apparently is quite spiffy now. I saw pictures and it was very impressive.
And if you're really interested, you can crawl under the turtle and see who dedicated it.
That's true.
I don't know if we can.
Which we learned at that as well. And on the 17th of September, we had a session here on parking and parking enforcement with the police department. We'll hear more from them tonight on that. It's on the agenda. On the 17th, the Natural Resources Commission was canceled due to illnesses, and it has been rescheduled for October 1st. I also poked my head in on the Planning Commission on the 18th, and yes, they are doing a great job at trying to take our feedback and implement, try to think through signage and take care of that. And then also the Historic Preservation Society had their meeting, and they've got a number of events coming up. They've got one, it's actually posted out in the back. I'm blanking on what it is.
Is it tonight? It's tonight.
There we go. It's going on right now, isn't it? It is. Okay. Thank you. So, you're missing it. I apologize. Thank you for being here. And then on September 20th, there was the celebration of the young child at Brookside Park in Pasadena. And this was to celebrate early childhood education programs that are going on with the PUSD. We were invited to attend by Mayor Gordo, and so he was there, as well as council members from Altadena, or town council members from Altadena and council members from Monrovia, and then PUSD board members Jennifer Hall-Lee, Michelle Richard Bailey, Scott Harden, Patrice Marshall-Kenzie, as well as our good partner, Superintendent Elizabeth Blanco, was there. I will echo the Latino Heritage Fiesta was fantastic. Great music, great booths, great activities. So thank you to Community Services for putting that together. That was fantastic. We're one of the few communities that had one this year. I look forward to having future ones in upcoming years. And then I'll close, as I often do, with the Clean Power Alliance. We had our 2025 request for offers for clean power. There's lots of solar plus storage and storage itself that's coming, that is being considered under contract for the Clean Power Alliance, as well as there was an executive committee meeting. With that, I will then pivot to the city announcements. We've got about 7 here. The Mountain Wilson Trail Race, the 5K recovery run, is fast approaching on Saturday, October 4th. Registration is required, and you can sign up at runsignup.com. The Eaton Fire After Action Report is now available to the public on the city's website. If you go to Eaton Fire AAR, you'll be able to find it. Just search for that on our homepage. This is a comprehensive report that incorporates community feedback along with input from our emergency response partners and city staff. It captures the lessons learned from our coordinated response to the Eaton Fire and provides important guidance for strengthening our preparedness, response, and resilience for future emergencies. I encourage everyone to go take a look at it. There's a lot of work that went into that. We've got the Fire Prevention Festival coming up by the Fire Department on Saturday, October 11th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. There will be food, a photo booth, and an opportunity to enter a drawing, practice with a fire blanket, and you meet goats that work for fuel reduction. Now, I bet you they'll also have Annies out there for CPR. They often have that. There's a flyer in the back. Not to be outdone, the police department will have pink patches and coffee chats on Tuesday, October 14th from 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. at Starbucks. So bring your friends, wear pink, and during a conversation and community support. Flyers are also in the back for that. October 15th, noon to 10 p.m., at Handel's in Pasadena will donate 20% of the proceeds to the Sierra Madre Library Foundation. Guests must mention Sierra Madre Library Foundation when ordering in person or online. It's an easy way to cool off and raise money for our new library. Also in the back is a copy of the library's calendar for upcoming events. There are a number of activities that we have there: Stitch and Share, Shelf Stories, Sip and Shush, Friends of the Library Used Book Sale, In and Out Cover to Cover Book Club, and a big pumpkin smash. So starting to get active here in the city for the fall. All right, we'll now move on to items from the public that are not on the agenda. There is the Public Participation Code of Conduct that is on the back of all the yellow cards, and we take that seriously. And with that, Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment for items not on the agenda?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. The City Clerk's Office received an email on items not on the agenda from Ashley Bonenfant. That email was forwarded to the City Council before this meeting.
Thank you.
And there are a number of speaker cards received this evening. The first of the 6 that we've received is from Marcia Bender.
Ms. Bender.
Good evening. Marcia Bender, Sierra Madre, and I just have a couple questions. I don't know exactly how you go about doing this. First off, I would like to know what the proper procedure is to get an item on the agenda for discussion.
So in public comment, we don't do a back and forth. So if you ask the questions, what we'll definitely do is we'll hand it over to the city manager and we will get answers back to you. So if you go ahead and give all the questions, we'll make sure that they get answered.
Okay, that's the first one. The second one is, do you have a cap on the rental increase each year? And is there any exceptions? And if you do, what is it? And what is the amount? And if you do not have a cap, why don't you?
Is a cap on the rental increase? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, great. And what other questions?
And I would also like an explanation from someone regarding the California tax credit allocation.
Great. Mr. City Manager, do you have all those?
I do.
Great. We will have someone on staff get back to you. Thank
All
you
right,
very much.
thank you.
Mr. Mayor, the second speaker card is from Leslie Ziff.
Good
evening,
evening,
Ms.
City
Cook.
Council. I have 2 things that I want to talk to you about. First of all, I know you're going to talk about Charlie Bell's passing, and I wanted to make sure that I invite you and any of the other people out there in TV land that knew him. We are going to have a memorial for him at Lizzie's Trail Inn. He wanted the service on the porch. And so that'll be Saturday, October 11th. Everything's happening on October 11th, 10 a.m. at Lizzie's Trail Inn, which is 165 East Miramonte. And the second thing I want to invite each of you to is our Winter Village Festival. And that date is secure now at Saturday, December 6th. And we changed the date because the businesses requested it. They didn't want it on Small Business Saturday, so we moved it over. So that's why it's there. And it's going to encompass Baldwin from Montecito to Sierra Madre Boulevard from Baldwin to the park. And our booths will be mostly on Baldwin and on Sierra Madre Boulevard up to about the Playhouse. So we have booths coming in. We have our council or our chamber members that are businesses. They'll be able to put booths out in front of their businesses too. We're encouraging people to go in and shop and do all that. The snow will be at the Memorial Park. So, and we will have on the bandstand, we'll have bands and other musicians. We'll have musicians in front of the Playhouse and at Kirsting Court and probably at the top of Baldwin at Montecito. Okay, so come. Did I tell you everything? It's from noon to 8. And the tree lighting, which we would like all of you to be there at the tree lighting, because you got to, say hello to Santa Claus. That's going to be at 6. So, so please come. And if you have any questions, you can call the chamber or email the chamber, or they can email me. And my name is on the chamber website. Okay, thank you.
And that, the Charlie Bell Remembrance is on a Friday, right? Friday?
No, Saturday.
Okay, so it's on the
Saturday,
11th.
October 11th.
Got it.
Along with everything else that's happening
Yep.
in the city.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk?
Yes, sir. The next speaker is Pat Alcorn.
Ms. Alcorn.
Good evening, Mayor Parkhurst and city council members. I'm Pat Alcorn. And I was reading the fire action report following the Eden Canyon fire. And the areas for improvement I saw was one of the important issues was to establish a citywide public preparedness campaign. As you know, there is a re-establishment of the Fire Safe Council with the and the possibility of them being able to assist with education, maybe getting block captains, and hopefully some grants for the homeowners to be able to get a discount. As you know, Sierra Madre CERT has been in the forefront of fire and earthquake preparedness by having monthly meetings at our meetings, monthly training, booths at civic activities, and as well as we precipitated in the Great Shakeout several years. With the exception of the COVID years, we have held a CERT basic training class since 2015. We have trained close to 250 citizens. We are planning a CERT basic training class soon after the start of the year to reach those who are interested in working with both the Fire Safe Council and CERT, as well as the general public. We're currently working with the Board of Fire Safe Council to double our efforts to reach the maximum number of people. One can see that these organizations can and should be coordinated to get the maximum efforts. In discussion with the CERT's liaison from the fire department, we learned that the City Council has authorized the position of a community risk reduction officer in the fire department, who can perform the duties of evaluating properties for risk of fire, as well as trained to assist the fire department with other duties. This position would be a perfect fit to be a lead in coordinating a citywide public preparedness campaign. We also learned, however, that this position has not been funded. So we're asking the City Council to consider funding this position now to provide the support needed for the maximum educational experience. And thank you very much. And by the way, our CERT meeting, monthly CERT meeting, is this coming Thursday, 7 o'clock at the Hart Park House. And our liaison, Captain Chris Bertrand, is going to be presenting a program for us. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ms. Alcorn. Madam City Clerk, who's next?
Mr. Mayor, the city's librarian, Layla Regan, is next.
Hello, Mayor Parkhurst, Mayor Pro Tem Lowe, and our Honorable City Council. I'm Layla Regan, your friendly neighborhood city librarian, and I'm here to tell you about Banned Books Week, which is coming up October 5th to the 11th. This year's theme is Censorship is So 1984. Read for your rights. The event highlights the rise in book challenges and aims to celebrate the freedom to read by bringing attention to banned and challenged books. The library every year has a shelfie photo booth that we do, so feel free to stop by the library that week for your shelfie banned book photo. And I also wanted to take this time to give a special thank you to the Community Foundation, who we are purchasing brand new 3D printers for the library, especially for a brand new library. And that is all thanks to to the Sierra Madre Community Foundation. So I wanted to give a special shout out for that because we're actually purchasing them now. That is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Fire Chief Bartlett.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council. I just want to bring to your attention and the public's attention that we are happy to say that we have a first draft of our updated local hazard mitigation plan. And the update is now available for public view. So simply, the local hazard mitigation plan is our community's roadmap to reduce loss of life and property. It identifies hazards, assesses risks, and sets sustained strategies to lessen the impact of disasters. Essentially, having an approved local hazard mitigation plan is not just planning, it also makes the city eligible to apply for federal mitigation grants, which can help funding projects like infrastructure improvements, wildfire mitigation, and flood protection. By federal law, every city must have a FEMA-approved local hazard mitigation plan, and update of the plan must be accomplished every 5 years, and we're at that point. If the plan is allowed to expire or is not approved, the city cannot apply for many types of federal disaster mitigation fundings, meaning we would lose access to critical dollars that help us prepare for disasters. So I'm inviting the public, City Council, and all our stakeholders to read the draft of the update. It can be found on the city's website under Emergency Management at www.sierramadreca.gov/HMP. We also will have hard copies available at the library and the Hart Park House. And we are encouraging residents, businesses, and community partners to review the plan and send feedback to us by October 8th. And you can send that feedback to fire@sierramadreca.gov. Basically, everybody's input, all our stakeholders' input is only going to help us strengthen the plan as it moves forward. So again, this is in draft form, and we're seeking as much feedback as we can get. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Mayor, there are no other speaker cards at this time.
All right, great. So tonight we're going to do something a little bit different. We have 3 members of our city that passed away within the past couple of months. These were people that were very involved in Sierra Madre. We often close meeting in their memory, but we often find that there aren't many people here. And these people were significant enough to the city that we wanted to take a second to recognize them. The first is David Lorera Sr. He passed away on August 16th of 2025. He was one of our true treasures. And he passed away after a courageous battle with lung cancer linked to his Vietnam service. He was a proud U.S. Army veteran, and he was awarded the Vietnam Service Medal with 4 Bronze Stars, the Republic of Vietnam Campaign Medal, and the Army Commendation Medal. For more than 40 years, David called Sierra Madre home and personified the word service. He was honored as the 2014 Citizen of the Year for his extensive volunteer work, which included coaching local youth sports, leading the Sierra Madre Kiwanis Club, St. Rita's Men's Club, and Knights of Columbus, as well as serving as commander of the VFW Post 3208 and California District 11. His leadership extended to national advocacy, partnering with Congresswoman Judy Chu and the Veterans Administration to help establish a Veterans Health Clinic in the San Gabriel Valley. And I'll tell you that this is one of Representative Chu's most significant accomplishments. He mentions it quite often, and that's thanks to David. Above all, David was a devoted husband, father, and grandfather who lived with integrity, faith, and love. His life truly embodied the veterans' motto, God, country, family. On August 21st, 2025, we lost Marie Sullivan. Marie Zermbeski Sullivan was a Chicago native and a cherished member of the Sierra Madre community. She passed away peacefully at home on August 21st, surrounded by loved ones. She now reunites reunites with her husband of 56 years, William Bill Sullivan, who passed in 2011. Marie and Bill married in 1955 and moved to Sierra Madre in 1963 with 3 young children. Together, they became community pillars, first through owning and operating the bottle shop for over 20 years, and later by building Sierra Madre Self-Storage, both of which remain family-run today. Marie also thrived as a real estate agent and gave generously of her time volunteering with Sierra Madre Community Hospital, St. Rita Catholic Church, and Madre de la Rosa Retreat Center. She will be remembered for her unwavering optimism, joyful spirit, and remarkable work ethic. Most of all, Marie was devoted to her family, whose love was at the heart of everything she did. Her legacy lives on through her children, 6 grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren who will carry forth her warmth, laughter, and enduring example. And finally, we recognize Charles A. Bell, Charlie Bell. He passed away on September 4th. Charlie Bell was the beloved steward of the Mount Wilson Trail. He passed away on September 4th at the age of 93. Born in St. Louis in 1932, Charlie moved to Pasadena in 1952 and went on to earn a civil engineering degree from the University of Nevada, Reno. He worked for Aerojet General Corporation, but is best remembered for his lifelong devotion to the Mount Wilson Trail. Charlie first hiked the trail in 1947 and spent the next 7 decades caring for it. With tireless dedication, he led volunteer crews, repaired damage, and redesigned sections to ensure its preservation for future generations. Known for his humor, warmth, and welcoming presence at Lizzie's Trail Inn every Saturday morning, Charlie became a true icon of the Sierra Madre community. Honored with a George Maurer Lifetime Achievement Award in 2022, Charlie leaves behind a legacy of service, friendship, and stewardship of the mountains he loved. He'll be deeply missed, but the trails he maintained, including one in his own name, stand as a lasting tribute to his life work. So, and Mr. Bell was on that trail, repairing it well, almost into his 90s. So, thank you all for taking that time to remember those icons of Sierra Madre. All right, with that, we'll turn to our presentations. The first one, we've got a presentation from Southern California Edison.
Honorable Mayor, distinguished council, thank you so much for inviting us back to give you an update on the reliability and other services that Edison has to offer. We brought in the 2024 reliability report, and from January 1 through September 1 of the 2025 report. That's the data that we have available. So let's go to the next page.
Can we get these up on the side? Thank you.
Here you can see where Edison's territory is and how we span out throughout California in our territory regulated area in Central and Southern California. 50,000 square miles of Edison service territory, about 15 million residents through about 5 million customer accounts. So it keeps us busy with 15 counties, 185 cities, and 13 Native American tribes. Next page, please. Here's just a snapshot of what we've talked about with 50,000 square miles of territory, 5,500 circuits, 1.7 million poles, 123,000 miles of transmission and distribution lines, and 759,000 transformers. So we have a lot of product that we have to manage every minute of every single day to keep the power flowing safely and reliably. Next page. Edison plans to spend more than about $5 billion each year to maintain, improve, and harden our infrastructure. We're looking at infrastructure reliability, wildfire mitigation, transmission services, connecting renewables, grid readiness, long-term energy policies. Some of our 2024 capital investments were 47.58 miles of underground cable replaced, 91.11 miles of overhead conductor replaced for public safety, $2,150,000 transmission poles replaced, and 78 underground structure replacements. Next page. Now we're going to talk about the reliability overview, and with that, I'm going to invite Jennifer up, who is our district manager, who manages the city of Sierra Madre along others here in the San Gabriel Valley. Jennifer?
So I'll be reviewing the reliability more specific to Sierra Madre. And first, I do want to acknowledge that there has been the increase in outages that have been affecting the city of Sierra Madre for this year. My personal commitment is to improve reliability, and I truly do appreciate and value the relationship that we have with the city and the residents here. We've provided a very detailed package presentation. I will provide a high-level overview of some of that information and give some insight into how we measure reliability and some comparisons that we've provided in the presentation. So reliability in the simplest term is dependable electricity. Some of the factors that can interrupt that dependable service would be maintenance outages, outages that need to be taken either to maintain the equipment or improve the equipment, repair outages, which are unplanned outages when emergencies happen or when the power goes out unexpectedly. Public safety power shutoff, which is PSPS, which is what we refer to it a lot, is the wildfire mitigation efforts for when there's high winds and high fire conditions, where they proactively will shut off the power. And then major event days are generally severe weather and multiple days where we have interruptions due to that. How we measure the reliability is metrics using what we refer to as SAIDI, which is measuring the duration of the outages, and then SAFE, which is measuring the frequency of the outages or interruptions, and then also MAFE, which is measuring the momentary interruptions, so how many momentary interruptions, which is less than 5 minutes. Next page. Some of the causes for the outages would be equipment failure, when it has to do with the transformers, the conductors, the wires, the switches, animal vegetation, tree branches in the lines, rodents, squirrels, birds. And then other is when we actually patrol the entire circuit and no cause is found. Something that does contribute to other is now with the elevated fire risk, we actually have our settings on some of our circuits to shut off at a faster level, just because of the sensitivity around if there's a fault. We don't want to start any fires, so it will shut off the power proactively, but it also prevents us from sometimes finding a cause because it clears so fast. So they'll patrol the circuit and won't always find that cause. Operations is when we're out there and we find something else that needs to be fixed while we're there and it requires an outage. And then third party, balloons, car hit pole, third party dig-in, and then the public safety power shutoff. This slide here provides the historical reliability of the circuits, specifically in Sierra Madre, and it gives a 4-year overview. And what it's comparing is the reliability of the circuits here in Sierra Madre in comparison to Edison territory as a whole. So it kind of gives you a glimpse on how you're performing against the entire grid with Southern California Edison. For the 2024, it does show the duration of the outages lower than compared to the grid. For the frequency, it does show Sierra Madre higher in the frequency and higher in the momentary interruptions. The SAIDI, which is the duration for 2024 outage causes for Sierra Madre, As you can see, where they determine the causes, the highest percentage is weather, fire, earthquake. For your specific area, in 2024, it would be related to some of the wind activity and storm activity with wind and rain. Other, again, is when we patrol the circuit and they're not able to find the cause. Equipment failure, operation, which is where we are out there and they find another problem and need an outage, and then vegetation and animal. Next slide.
Can I ask you a question about that? So if you find out it's other and you don't know what it is, then do they just start it back up and hope that it's okay, or how does that happen?
They will test the circuit to make sure that there's not still a fault or something that would be a concern with restoring the power, so they do test it.
Thank you.
The SAFE, which is the frequency of outages, again, it's the same as far as the causes that were determined for those interruptions. In the city of Sierra.
What about Mayfie? Do you have causes for Mayfie or not?
I'm sorry? No. So the frequency would also be the part of the momentary outage. I'm not sure if we have, do you know if we have the? I don't think it's been provided in any of the reliability reports, but I can check on it and see if we have that as well. Because it would be the frequency of outages would be different than the momentary interruptions, so we can check on that. For the city of Sierra Madre, you do have 8 circuits, and this provides the list of the circuits and then also the number of customers associated with each circuit. And just something to note that 6 of your 8 circuits are actually in PSPS areas, so they are subject to the high fire and the winds and possible proactively public safety power shutoffs. Next slide.
Which 6 are those, do you know?
I would have to confirm the 6, but I can find that out for you. And this just provides the map and the overlay of the circuits and where they are in your city. I know it's hard to see on the.
Oh, it's actually on. It's actually notated on the map. The ones in red are the.
Okay. Thank you. Next slide. This page provides a link to any of the capital improvements for the area. Some things that are looked at for 2025 as far as improvements and wildfire mitigation is more covered conductor in your area. So we do have that as part of some of the projects that we have. And then the backup slides I won't go over. It really does provide you more of that detail, more of the data for each circuit. If you can just go through them real fast, just to give you an idea, it will break down by year, circuits, SADI, SAFE, and MAFE. So you would find that just not in the same format as the other chart. And then, yes, so for 2025, we normally do not provide the same reliability information that we do that I just presented, but we did feel it was really important to give you guys an up-to-date view of how the reliability is for the city right now. So we were able to pull together data to provide to look at 2025, and it is again just a high-level snapshot, but it does give you a lot of detailed data within it. One thing that I'll speak to as far as for 2025 is some of the reasons behind the increase in outages. So along with the wildfire mitigations, the settings of our circuits being more sensitive to trip to avoid any fires, that does create an increase in the number of interruptions, but also the public safety power shutoff this year was the first time that I saw that some of your circuits were affected in January when we had the devastating fires as well. So that did contribute to a lot of the duration of outages. And then most recently, the Baldwin circuit, where we had 3 interruptions, one after another, basically on the same day. And when that outage happened, we patrolled the entire circuit and did not locate a cause, but we really were committed to making sure that we looked at everything possible to find the cause, ensure it wasn't going to continue to happen. And we worked with our engineering group and were able to identify underground components that were going to fail but had not failed yet, and that was causing the interruptions on that circuit. So we did make the repairs to that so that wouldn't continue. And then I think 6 days later, unfortunately, the circuit went out again, and it was a separate cause. That cause was due to a squirrel. So we do not anticipate any continued maintenance in regards to any repairs that need to be made or any anticipation of outages on that circuit. But that did contribute to the reliability issues that you've experienced this year.
So just to summarize, for the first two outages, the two that occurred on the same day, you didn't find a cause for that one, but you had an underground circuit that was likely to fail, and you repaired that. And then the one that was 2 or 3 days later, it was a squirrel. And a squirrel, what did the squirrel get into? Was it a transformer? What was it that it damaged? Do we know?
It was in the overhead equipment. I would have to confirm if
Okay.
it was a transformer.
That's fine.
As far as the Baldwin circuit, the 3 outages were contributed to one cause. And that was where we did work with the engineers to determine where we were receiving some of the information on the circuit, and we were able to locate where those underground components, they actually found 3, but it contributed to each of the interruptions.
So obviously we had sustained PSPSs. So I'm looking at the SADI. When you give these to us annually, do you control for that? Because obviously, if we're out for days, numbers of days, the minutes are going to be tremendous, and it's going to swamp all the other statistics. So when you present these to us going forward, do you have an option to control for the SADI and kind of piece out the large PSPSs?
We can do that for you. We can exclude the PSPS outages just to give you a better picture of the other outages.
Yeah, because it's kind of hard to tell what else has been going on when we're, how long were we down this year?
I know.
Days, yeah, and that's a lot of minutes. So that really does skew the statistics. Thank you.
And lastly, I just do want to say that I do not minimize the impact of these outages to any of our customers, and really do want to continue the relationship and communication that we have with the city. And I know Connie's been great, so thank you.
Yeah,
We
please.
have questions. Go ahead.
Yes.
So I know one of your colleagues gave us a presentation, within the last few years, and you probably saw in the historical data that we had, quite a large, I forget which of the statistics, but we were, well in excess in 2022 in the SADI as compared to the rest of the grid. And one of the things that your colleagues mentioned at that time, or after that time, was that we had one of our circuits that was due for upgrade, and then that circuit was upgraded, and that obviously has helped improve the reliability since then. And one of the questions we asked in the last meeting was whether or not that assessment has been made with respect to our other circuits, such that are we currently with all of our 8 circuits at the most up to date, most current technology, such that that's not affecting our reliability, or are we on a schedule to be upgraded as your capital improvement projects move forward?
We do have plans with projects to install covered conductor, which will help raise the thresholds for PSPS along with providing reliable power. So there are projects that are due this year into next year in regards to more covered conductor on the circuits.
So I seem to remember that we did have a project that did covered conductors. So what percentage of our lines do have covered conductors now?
I can provide that data to you. I don't.
Okay,
have
if
it
you
here.
could, that would be
Yes,
good.
I can.
Just to follow that up, we had asked for that last meeting,
Oh,
and so we were expecting that this meeting.
okay. I apologize. I can get with our engineering team to determine the percentage of it that's covered conductor unless you receive that? No? Okay.
And by circuit, so if we know is it one of the circuits? I mean, it'd be helpful to know which ones are the ones that are
circuits
the
on the
highest
miles.
risks, which ones have covered conductors. If it's only a portion of a circuit, I don't know if you do a portion of a circuit, but if it's that, like any of the information, any of the detail that you can have that helps us understand that.
And that's why I can't provide it right away, is because there are areas where I can see what portions are covered conductor and give you an idea of the mileage and the circuits that have it.
Right, okay, great. Other questions from council members?
I have a question. Normally, what is the response time when the electricity goes out, that you guys respond both online as well as responding with personnel to the scene, and then giving an estimation of when the electricity comes back on? Can you give us that timeline?
So it will vary based on availability of our troublemen who respond first to any trouble, any power that's out. Our system operators will know instantly when the power goes out, just because they monitor the grid. When there is more than 2 or 3 meters, sorry, it's 3 meters, indicate that they lost power, then it should create a outage alert note that goes on to sc.com to display the outage information. Very generic outage information, but it does say that there's an outage in that area and that we're looking into it. As far as the response for our crews to get to that location, sometimes they will have a cause call or a possible cause call and they'll go there first, or sometimes they have to patrol the entire circuit. So it just depends on the information that we have and the crew availability. So I would hate to give a time frame, but we get out there as soon as possible. Sometimes they're already on property, get out there right away within minutes. Sometimes it can be an hour, depending on the location of the circuit.
And just like we have police and fire response times, could you pull that data for us for the last 2024, 2025 year and see what our response times are for that? Because that, I would hope that with the mapping you have of those who are registered for the lifeline, medical baseline, that you prioritize those responses quicker because those people need that electricity faster?
They will receive more updates and more attention as far as if they need anything, but they don't go to that location.
No, I didn't mean that, but they should, in my mind, you would prioritize if you had a high volume of those types of customers on one circuit or one area that's out, that would be the priority lines that get repaired first or get the electricity back on. Because as we know, those backup batteries only last about 3 to 4 hours for many of our patients and our residents, versus the idea that they last longer. It just depends on your oxygen dependency.
Yeah, I can look into that.
Thank you so much. Oh, and one other question. I know that during the, after the Eaton fire, there was a portal that's called the Public Safety Portal. Is that updated differently, where our public safety and our city manager would be able to log into that portal and see what's going on with the repairs and the outages?
And I'm not familiar with that portal.
Your city manager will be alerted and can go in and register to go into the PSPS portal, yes.
And what information does that give versus the regular customer?
Well, it gives the same thing that it gives for the regular customers, but it also tells you where we are in the PSPS update status.
Great.
Yeah,
great.
it gives you a little bit more information.
Then could you send that information to our city manager to
Sure.
be able to have him log in?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
We also have the last part of the presentation, which the mayor had asked about the Edison customer service programs that included the batteries. So we brought all of the programs. They're available. They're online. It has the website. You can post them on your city's website for the residents to, next page please, so the customers to go in there and take a look at what we do have to offer them. Okay?
Is that enough information for you to provide additional resources to our residents on the webpage?
Next page. We have a whole lot of them.
Yeah, if you go on to page 5 maybe.
Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah, we can certainly grab this information and do
Yeah.
a social media campaign or retweet or repost information from SCE on our city channels.
Yeah, I think particularly, I think what we heard for the last meeting was particular concerns around medical baseline. Make sure we get that information out to our residents. Other questions, comments?
So I see a lot of, well, the title of these slides is for the PSPSs. But let's say there's a sustained outage for another reason and somebody has a medical issue. Do you offer hotel assistance for an
Everything that
individual?
we offer is online and is included in these slides. And it tells you specifically what is available for those types of customers, those programs.
So I'm not asking types of customers, I'm asking a type of outage. Because these say, the title's public safety power shutoffs. So
Right.
I'm assuming this is only for PSPSs, not for when your system fails.
I get it, yes. For right now, it is just for PSPS. Any other types of sustained outages would have to be up to our upper management and CPUC approval, because they have to, approve everything we do. So it would be upper management discretion.
Okay. So there's currently no plan or service for a resident. Let's say they need electricity to keep a medical device going, and it's an equipment failure rather than a PSPS. There's no current.
Nothing that I'm aware of right now.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions, or are you guys letting me go?
Mayor's thinking, I think.
Yeah, no, I think.
The wheels are
that's-
turning.
Yeah, no.
We see the smoke coming out of those ears.
There you go. No, I think I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you for
the
coming
quick
back.
Response, yeah.
Great. All right, so our next presentation is from Police Chief Barrientos, to giving us a bear update.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem. So I don't have a whole lot of update from the last time I was here 2 weeks ago. The only thing I have that's changed over the last 2 weeks, we had 10 additional calls for service. Of those 10, 4 is a habituated bear, meaning going into a crawl space, and 6 is bear seen only. So our intrusions or attempts continues to decline. It's 0 all across the board for over a month now. So that's the latest update that I have. So it's 10 more calls for service.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for him? Appreciate the update and the ongoing tracking.
Oh, really quick, there was a report of a injured bear that we've seen in the canyon. What I thought we advise is to do the normal same reporting, is call Department of Fish and Wildlife, make a report, pass to Humane Society, but they would just do the same. Is there any other instructions we would tell our residents?
No, thank you for the question. No, so the same type of call for service, the same type of reporting applies. It just so happened that that bear, we've had about 2 to 3 sightings. It's injured. It's one of its hindquarters. So we did report it to California Fish and Wildlife. I was told last week Tuesday they would look into it, and I haven't been updated regarding that matter.
So they did not get back to you on what they do about that?
No.
Okay. Great.
So what should our residents not do? Because if you see an injured something, you probably, because we have a lot of kind residents here, and I mean that earnestly and sincerely, they might want to help the bear by providing it food or something like that. Should we do that? And I know the answer, but I want to hear from the
Thank you
chief
for
of
the
police.
answer. Absolutely not. Do not approach a bear injured or uninjured. It's a wild animal, and your responsibility is to report it either to Fish and Wildlife or report it to the police so we can
And don't leave
assess.
Don't leave
Don't leave.
caches of food out there and things like
Any
that.
attractants for the bear, food or trash bins left unlocked, etc. Yes, absolutely. And you can report it, like I said, on our website at www.wildlife.sierramadreca.gov, or you could report it directly to California Fish and Wildlife.
Thanks, Chief.
Great.
Thank you.
In your next update, let's try to focus on that, what Department of Fish and Wildlife say about injured animals, and see if we can get an answer from them on that. So, I understand that that's not, you're waiting on them, so it's not meant to reflect on you, it's just I think we need to get our residents that answer. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, we are now on to the consent agenda. We have 7 items, so Madam City Clerk, will you read consent items by title only, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city clerk's office has all the reports for this evening. Staff is present for any questions. First of the consent items is Resolution 25-53, approving certain demands. It is the staff's recommendation that the City Council approve and adopt Resolution 25-53. Consent item B is the transmittal of the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget book. This report is a receive and file report. No action is required from the City Council. Consent C is Resolution 25-54, amending the fiscal year 2025-2026 Administration Internal Service Fund budget, authorizing a supplemental appropriation to the Finance Department in the amount of $58,000, offset by a reduction in the Administration Internal Service Fund balance for financial policy advisory services, and also a professional services agreement with Hugh C. Quach for financial policy and procedure development in an amount not to exceed $58,000. Consent item D is a professional services agreement with Kimley Horn and Associates, Inc. for general plan updates to open space and conservation easements elements in an amount not to exceed $155,000. Consent item D is ordinance 1467, amending chapter 9.32 noise of Title 9 Public Peace, Morals, and Welfare, and chapter 8.40 landscaping equipment of Title 8 Health and Safety of the Sierra Madre Municipal Code. It is staff's recommendation that the City Council conduct a second reading of ordinance 1467 and adopt the amendments to the Sierra Madre Municipal Code. Consent item F is Resolution 25-55 regarding the new national opioids settlement. It is staff's recommendation that the City Council adopt Resolution 25-55. And lastly, consent item G is a participation in Southern California Edison's LS1 Option E Streetlight Conversion Program. It is staff's recommendation that the City Council approve the city's participation in the program. Mr. Mayor, that concludes our report.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. All right. Any questions on consent item A? B? C? D?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So this is the professional services agreement with Kimley Horn and Associates to conduct a general plan update relating to open space and conservation elements. And I was wondering what precipitated this. Do we not have this? Do we need to update it for some reason? Just wondering kind of what gave rise to this.
All right. I think we have Planning Director Lynn coming up to give us that answer. Director Lynn.
Good evening, mayors and members of the council. Thank you for the question. So this professional services to help the city to update the conservation element and the open space element is a state mandate legislative, AB 1889, and also SB 1425. State is mandating all the local jurisdictions to comply with the update by January 1st, 2026.
And did the state provide funding for this? I think I know the answer.
Thank you for the question. No, there's no funding for the state, but we did budget it at the last budget period to have this updated, included.
And I know that we have a limitation on general plan updates in a given period. Does this count as one, and are we concerned that this will limit other things that we need to do?
I'll refer that to our city manager.
Yes, this does count as one, and we have a general limitation of 2 per year, and this counts as 1.
And I mean, just based on, I know you do some work with our planning commission, is it going to put any undue pressure on things that we were planning to do with respect to a general plan?
I'm not aware of any other general plan amendments that we're contemplating at this time, so I don't think so.
Is that a fiscal year or a calendar year limitation?
It's a fiscal year, and now that I think about it, I think it's a 2 per year limitation on a general plan land use designation amendment, which this is not.
Oh, okay.
So it wouldn't impact that 2 limit.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, thank you very much, appreciate it.
So you said that we have to have this in place by January 1, is that correct?
That's correct, Mayor, January 1st, 2026.
But the project schedule that's in here doesn't have this done until April of 2026. So does that cause any issues with compliance, and is there any penalty or any consequences of us not having it done by January?
Thank you for the question. So we did discuss this at the San Gabriel Valley regional meeting at the SGV COG to survey all the cities to see if everybody is on board with the general plan update. We did verify with them that there is no penalty component to the bill. So as long as all the cities are showing good faith moving forward with the general plan update, there's no specific penalty or any consequences, unlike the housing element.
And are there other cities that are not going to meet the deadline of January 1st? Is there a lot, a few, none, one?
From the cities in the SGV COG, none of the city will be able to make the deadline. But at this time, 2 of the city were already in contract with consultants to pursue with the update.
Let me guess, one of them might have been La Cañada Flint Ridge?
That's correct.
Okay. Because it has a large interface with wildlife, could we get a presentation at the beginning, at the kickoff of this, so we understand and so the public understands what this will do? Because there's a lot of it that seems like it has some sort of interface with wildlife and wildlife corridors and a lot of the stuff. I mean, we just had a presentation on bears, so I think it would be good to have that for the council's knowledge and as well as the public's knowledge.
Certainly, we can ask the consultant to make a presentation before the city council.
Great. Other questions on this item? All right. We'll continue on to item, where we are we C? Yes.
Can I circle back to C?
Yes, you may.
I think that was D. So I just have a question. It's probably for the city attorney, but I know he's not a labor law expert. But Hugh Quach is a sole proprietorship, so it's an individual. And it's my understanding by looking at the resume, this individual is a retired annuitant. And looking at the contract, I'm not seeing any city indemnification. Not that I anticipate CalPERS saying that this is non-covered work or you're over the annuitant hours, but I have seen a case where the municipality was on the hook for hiring, quote unquote, a independent contractor to do work, and then they had to pay back contributions to PERS and all kinds of mess. So I know there's an indemnification clause here, but I don't see anything specific to that. And should we add that, or do you feel we're okay? If that makes sense. Sorry.
Yeah, so we have 2 template agreements. One is a short form professional services agreement, which is the one being used here. And one is a long form. The long form has the language that you're referring to, the short form doesn't. I think it would make sense to include that language in this agreement for this specific contract, so I'll see to it that we add that language in before execution.
Can we approve this on consent with that amendment?
Yes.
Great. Wonderful catch. All right. Consent item E. F. G.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So I just had a kind of a procedural question. So this is on consent, and this is with respect to our participation in SCE's offer to upgrade our streetlights. But there was, in the staff report, I think, sort of a implied request for guidance in terms of the type of
Color.
of the color and luminosity, and so I didn't know if it was properly on consent or if that guidance should be given as part of discussion.
Thank you. That was my question as well.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Arnulfo Yanez, Director of Public Works. That's a very good question. Thank you for that. Yes, it can be taken as a discussion to answer your question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor, may I make a correction to something I had said earlier?
Sure.
Regarding the general plan amendment, the actual number is 4 amendments per year, and I misspoke. It's 4 amendments to any mandatory element of the general plan. So it would the 2 amendments being contemplated, conservation element and the
open space.
Open space, if they're done together, would count as 1 amendment. And Mayor, you had asked what if we missed the deadline? With respect to that deadline, there's 2 different statutes requiring, and they have 2 different timelines. One has a deadline of January 1st of 26, and the other has a deadline of January 1st, 2029.
Oh, okay.
So one has a longer deadline.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
And then if I may, Mr. Mayor, circling back to Councilmember Creep's question. So the current high-pressure sodium vapor lights have a softer, warmer glow. It's about 2,300 kelvins. The new LED lights don't come with that level of luminosity. It's actually a little bit brighter. So the lowest level in terms of Kelvin and luminosity is 2,700. That would be staff's recommendation, sort of like for like. If the council wanted to go with something a little bit brighter and whiter, that would be the 3,000 Kelvin option. So we were going to default to the 2,700, but wanted to give the council the option of going for something brighter if they so choose.
Great. Thank you. All right. Any other questions for items on the consent agenda? All right. I'd like to open this up for public comment. Madam City Clerk, do we have any comment cards for the consent agenda items?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
Did you receive any emails?
There were no emails on the consent calendar.
All right. We'll close the public comment, can bring it back. Aside from item G, are there any discussion items? Any discussion of the consent items? On item G, we were asked feedback on 27 or 3,000. Is there staff's recommendations 27? Any concerns with going with 27? All right.
I will just note, though, just as part of discussion, that I asked this question when I was made aware of this program, and then it was also in the staff report. So I just want to highlight it for the public, but that both levels of the LED replacement lights are dark city compliant. So in terms of concerns about our general plans, dedication or preference for dark city status, that this either level of Kelvin would qualify for that. So in case folks were worried about this changing that.
Great. Thank you. All right. If there is no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda with the addition of the language that the city attorney recommended for item C.
Great.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, we'll move on now to the discussion items. First item on discussion is the school pedestrian safety enhancement. Director Yanez, you're back up.
Happy to be back up. It's recommended to that the City Council review this report, including associated cost estimates, and provide direction on potential next steps to improve traffic and pedestrian safety near Sierra Madre Elementary and Sierra Madre Middle Schools, particularly in the intersection of Highland Avenue and Auburn Avenue, along with Highland Avenue and Cannon Avenue. City Council may continue to discuss this at further meetings, take action, provide direction to staff fully and full or phase implementation of recommended measures. Direct staff to explore a formal agreement with Pasadena Unified School District regarding crossing guard services. Direct staff to maintain the current level of enforcement and signage. Provide alternate direction to staff concerning traffic safety alternatives. The analysis towards my findings, along with Chief Oriental's findings, is repainting crosswalks, school zone signage, LED stop signage replacements, in-roadway pedestrian signs, police motorcycle patrol, crossing guards, in collaboration with Pasadena Unified School District. City Council, this concludes my presentation.
Okay. Are there any questions for Director Yanez?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
This is just in response to a public comment received by email. Just have a question. I think it's probably for Chief or maybe for City Attorney. But as far as for thinking about funding for some of this, citations that we could issue for speeding or rolling stop signs, can you remind us on how much of, like, let's say an average ticket that the city actually gets in revenue?
Thank you for the question. I think our city attorney may be answer. I know it's just a fraction.
My recollection is like 10% or $35.
It's like 10%. It's very, very minimal because we, in addition, we pay Superior Court fees every year, and I believe it's in excess of about $30-some thousand for all of our processing. So you deduct that with the citations, and it's minimal. It's contradictory to what our residents think, that we make a profit. That is not true. It's minimal.
Why don't we just increase the penalties?
So the state or the county are the ones that set the fees or the fines for moving violations. We do not. Those are set fees through the LA County Superior Court.
Do we have any latitude in those fees?
Not that I'm aware of.
And so in a school zone, is the fee different?
School zone, it depends if, it depends on what the speed limit is. So most of the citations there, if the speed limit is 20 miles per hour and they exceed 10 miles an hour, it's more of a reckless driving. So the fees do go up. What those fees are, I have no idea. I know they're in the hundreds of dollars. But as I said, we do not set the fees. The city does not. Sierra Madre, it's LA County courts.
Other questions?
But aside from just the funding, would you agree that heightened enforcement is a deterrent to bad behavior?
Absolutely. It'll change behavior, and it's a deterrent.
Okay.
Absolutely agree.
And we're planning on heightening, we have been heightening enforcement, but we plan on continuing to heighten enforcement?
Correct. We have heightened enforcement. We have placed a sign. We have some of the ideas that Director Yanez presented, so change signage, repaint the crosswalks, LED stop signs, etc. But I think in addition, I think we should begin a phased out implementation of those things and then look to see if we could somehow collaborate and coordinate with Pasadena Unified School District.
Thank you,
if
Chief.
we move forward with the crossing guards.
For the first 4 items on the analysis, repainting crosswalks, school zone signage, LED signs, and in-roadway pedestrian signs, what's the cost of all of that in total?
$11,395.
$11,390. Is that the number you have?
Correct, sir.
How soon could those be implemented?
Based on next 2 to 3 weeks, sir.
2 to 3 weeks, we could implement all 4 of those or portions of those. The repainting at all of those we could do in 2 to 4 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks.
2 to 3 weeks, sir. Yes, that's correct. We do have some of the materials in stock currently. I will have to order a specialized rubber substance of a paint, which will be used in the ladder design in the crosswalks. Some people know it as a piano key design. It is a rubberized type of substance, which at night, reflection.
And will that impact the traffic in that area when these things are being implemented?
We will coordinate during perhaps the low traffic after school begins, try and wrap it up before school lets out, etc.
Great. Okay. Other questions? So we've got the police motorcycle and the crossing guards. So some people will say, hey, the police motorcycle is about the same as the crossing guard. Why are we spending money on a motorcycle? Why don't we just go for the crossing guards?
Well, the motorcycle is a lot more versatile, so we can use it for our downtown traffic, all traffic enforcement citywide. In addition, it's just easier to maneuver in and out of traffic when you have that type of congestion in front of a school.
Do we need any additional training for anyone to be able to become a motorcycle officer?
So fortunately for us, we have one officer who has been to the top school, was a motor officer for about 10 years, so he is already certified. So it would be a seamless transition, and we're looking at getting the funding from some asset forfeiture and other funding, not from the general fund, to obtain this motorcycle.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah, please.
When was the last time that Sierra Madre had motor officers? Do you remember? Estimate, but we've had them before.
It's my understanding that over 10 years ago, they had a motor officer at one time. They sold a motorcycle. But I remember it was a little excess of 10 years the last time I saw a motorcycle here.
And is this common practice for other cities surrounding us?
Yes, it's very common practice. All of our surrounding cities all have multiple motor officers for traffic enforcement, escorts.
For school districts,
schools,
school zones?
Yeah, community events, etc. Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Goss?
$45,000 motorcycle, that's some motorcycle. What is it? What would it look like? Why is it so expensive?
So that's a fully equipped motorcycle. So our police radios are expensive. That's what really hikes up the price. That's about $8,000 to $10,000 just for a police motorcycle. A police radio for a motorcycle. So that's really it's the outfitting that'll cost. It's not the motor itself.
How big of a bike is it?
So what they use right now, and there's about a 6-month backlog on them or hold. CHP bought over 200 of the BMW motorcycles. I believe they're BMW 1000s or so.
1,000.
That's the common. They got away from the Harleys. They're just too hot.
It'll run forever. It's a good bike.
But
seriously.
the motor's probably about 35,000, and then outfitting, and that's just a rough estimate. It could be a lot lower, but that's what we're estimating, about 45,000 or under.
But again, you said funding might not have to come from the general fund?
That is correct. It will not come from the general fund.
And is it a different cost than it is for, like, say, the crossing guards? I mean, this is a capital expense, right? Versus a ongoing expense.
That is correct. We did look into crossing guards, so it's estimated about $27,000 per guard. So the more guards you hire, the lower of a price you get. So it's about $27,000 for each guard for 160 hours approximately during the school year.
So this is 18,000. What's the difference between the 18,000 and the 27? What am I missing? The report says the cost per crossing guard is 18,000. Is it 18,000 or 27,000?
Let me correct that. When we initially, that should be corrected in the report. When we initially looked into the crossing guards last city council meeting, we had estimated it would be about 18,000. However, I did get a quote, and we had asked for a quote for multiple crossing guards at each school, and I learned later that the more guards, the lower the price. and the less guard, the more expensive. So the actual number is 54,000 for 2 crossing guards,
This
one
is-
for each school.
This is 54 for 3.
That's an error. It should be only 2 crossing guards.
Okay, so it's 18,000
It's
for
50, it's
one and-
27,000 per guard.
27, sorry.
That's an error.
Yeah.
27,000 per crossing guard.
Okay.
At-
So, okay.
At this time, last time, we had not had any collaboration with PUSD, and as I read before, that part of this responsibility is on the school district, on the board members themselves, actually, when I'm looking at Ed Code. Have you been in contact with them yet?
I have. So I did send several emails to PUSD after the meeting a couple weeks ago. As of the time the report went to print, I didn't hear from them, but I did receive a follow-up email shortly after the report was submitted. And we do have a meeting tentatively scheduled for Monday, October 6th in the afternoon to begin discussions about a potential cost share arrangement.
Great. Other questions on this item?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
Going back to, I think it was 2001 or 2021 or 2022, I remember, I believe his rank was Sergeant. Sergeant Bailey helped implement a bicycle program, and I know we were using e-bikes, battery-assisted bicycles, and generally we saw it for events. Is there any way we can implement that for patrol in the mornings, or while we're waiting for a motorcycle, or is that just not feasible, or is that even been thought of?
Thank you for the question. Yes, it has been thought of, and we bounced it around. I just don't have officers that are currently bicycle certified. Those that we lost to other agencies were the bike certified. So it's just about getting them through the training and then putting them back out in the field.
So you can actually patrol on a bicycle that as well.
To answer your question, yes, we could do traffic stops just like a police vehicle or a motorcycle, yes.
Thank you.
Other questions on this item? All right. Thank you. We'll go ahead then and open this up for public comment. Madam City Clerk, do we have any comment cards for this discussion item?
There was an email received, Mr. Mayor, from Ashley Bonenfant, and that was forwarded to the City Council. There are no speaker cards.
Great. So we'll bring it back and go with council discussion.
Is there anybody
So-
else in the comments?
What's that?
No public comment either, okay.
Yeah, I
She's in the audience, so I was asking.
understand. Understand. All right. Thoughts from my colleagues here.
So I would say that when I'm working at Glendale, we've had multiple incidences where we've had the motorcycle cops and our police officers on motorcycles. And what we've seen is that where I work, there's a high school here, right across the street's a middle school, and down the street a tad is a lower school, an elementary school. And the only way to get through there is a motorcycle officer. Otherwise, the car is basically stopped on the side. And even it's not due to people being misparked, it's just that's the only allowable space for a police officer to try to get through to cite anybody or to even get to any area to help guide anybody or tell them to move on or anything. So I can see that need, because when I'm looking at PUSD schools too, when I'm down at McKinley, or when I've been at other elementary and middle schools, they do very similar actions. There's just, those streets aren't wide enough with drop off and pickup. I've also seen that there's other remedies like the 4 top listed ideas that we do have. I'm just wondering, how do these, are there studies that show what's safe for different schools? Like, we've just done all these different traffic safety things. We just had the Berkeley safety thing. Does that information come into play at all? Is any of the Berkeley's traffic safety information and data and study help us with this?
It's hard to say. You know, those reports were done several years ago, and I don't know how well they're incorporated in terms of our overall traffic management plan. It's certainly an area, an opportunity for us to improve when we do these reports, to make sure that we are implementing some of the strategies that are identified. But I don't know that we've, you know, fully incorporated a lot of those efforts in sort of a holistic approach citywide, and then in certain areas in downtown in Sierra Madre that are, you know, potential areas of concern.
Definitely seems to be Harlequin approach. We've got patchwork of all kinds of things, and none of it seems to work together. And it'd be really nice when we're looking at traffic and looking at circulation, we're looking at safety and all of that. It'd be nice to have all of those things working together.
Yeah, and that's certainly been one of my observations since I've started here with the city, that we do have sort of a patchwork approach. You know, as issues arise, we do the planning and we do the study for the thing, as opposed to trying to come up with sort of comprehensive solutions that address, these issues long term. I joke affectionately, right, when you walk through City Hall, it's kind of the Eras tour of carpet, right, where we've replaced carpet in certain areas, and you'll see that there's 3 or 4 different types of carpet because we were doing patchwork based off of the available resources that we had at the time, as opposed to planning effectively for citywide, City Hall carpet replacement. That's true in some of our more strategic efforts with some of the planning that we've done, on some of the bigger picture items, the things that you're talking about.
Right. Other thoughts?
Well, just to start it off, the 4 items that we start with totaling a little over $11,000, it seems like that's not a very great expense, and there's probably some benefit from that. So I would say we should at least consider that tonight. I'm also interested in the motorcycle. I think that would have application beyond this particular problem, as the chief mentioned, so I think we should talk about that as a capital expense. But I do not want to, I really do want the school district to join us and, if not pay the lion's share of the cost of crossing guards, at least half of it, and they should take responsibility for administering it. I don't see that we should be taking on another administrative chore. So that would be my preference if I were, giving advice on how to negotiate or what to negotiate.
Alex, this is kind of a procedural. Would we be able to vote tonight to give the city manager the ability to move forward with crossing guards and go into an MOU for the shared cost of that with the school district now, like preempting it? Or would we have to wait to find out his report, come back, agree to the MOU? What is that procedure?
I think in conjunction with PUSD. Yeah, I think if it's some kind of agreement in conjunction with PUSD, we'd have to bring the agreement back before you for approval. But I don't see anything stopping you from providing the city manager direction to go negotiate that MOU.
So we couldn't do like a not to exceed, saying, not to exceed $27,000, and proceed with that, or is that helpful? Is that how does so? Actually, this is more for the city manager than city attorney. Is if we give you some direction of okay, go forward, but don't spend more than 25,000 or 27. Is that helpful, or does that create more challenges for you? And well, that's why I wanted to ask and hear his answer.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's beneficial. At least gives me some parameters in terms that I can negotiate with the school district. If it's a 50% cost share or a fixed number, that would at least provide some guidelines. Certainly, if we're not able to reach an agreement, I can always come back to the council for further direction. But at least coming in with an opening offer, is, I think, appropriate in this case.
But what if they say, no, we're only paying 25%, then we don't take the 25% from them and we pay it all?
I wouldn't take that deal.
Well, so then we'd be paying the full amount, because we're just not gonna not have crossing guards.
Well, we haven't made that decision yet.
We haven't made that decision.
But I'm guessing, so last meeting, we actually did discuss that.
Yeah.
And we said we didn't wanna move forward with that yet.
Right.
Because we wanted to negotiate with PUSD. I don't wanna give him a number and publicly state this is your number, because that leaves us with no other alternatives but to either do it or not, and they don't have any leeway at all.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest that what we say tonight is not going to influence the PUSD position at all. They're going to have whatever position they have, and so whether we say we're only going to pay up to this amount, I mean, that's going to be a cautionary note for them, but I don't expect that to actually meaningfully, change their response.
Yeah, and I mean, the intent is to create a partnership, right?
Mhm.
An equal partnership. I imagine the school district will say these are the city streets and they're responsible for that, but, we would come back and say the kids wouldn't be walking there but for your school being theirs, right? So it's a give and take, and I certainly think there's an opportunity for both parties to recognize their role. I applaud the city council for taking a leadership position on this and giving me the authority to reach out to them and begin this conversations in order to address the concerns that we're hearing, from the public. Now I think it's up to the school district to decide if they want to, extend their hand in partnership with us to solve this problem.
Alex, can you also give, before the meeting, can you also give city manager some of the ed code on who's legally responsible for the custodialship of those students? Because during school hours and during the in drop-off and pickup and before those students are back in the custody of their parents, the school is actually the custodian of those children. Their teacher is while they are taking role in a classroom.
I would say also, I welcome creative solutions here. I mean, if POSD cries budget problems, there might be other things that they can offer to us that maybe isn't $1, but is of value to us. I know there's other negotiations going on with them, and I to the extent that they have creative solutions, I think we should leave open the possibility for considering that based on the outcome of your meeting.
Yeah, and to add to that, right? So this is an unbudgeted expense, and we are in a $1.4 million deficit this year with certain structural issues and fiscal stress in the general fund, right? So it's not without sacrifice that the city is making this offer, and certainly if PUSD is in a similar financial situation or different, we'd like to hear what their concerns are about that as well.
Yeah,
Go ahead, please.
No, I just want to echo what Councilmember Goss said. My preference would be to have the district pay the lion's share, and I think if we give a number, and I don't think we're leaning that way, I would say we're assured to at least pay that much. So I want to avoid that, and I like city manager's collaborative approach for the negotiation, and Councilmember Krieb's suggestion, and maybe there's different ways for us to leverage other benefits to the city. So I'm on board with that. Obviously, the safety of the students is paramount here. So I just want to make sure that we're not hamstringing ourselves by saying we will pay up to, because I guarantee we will pay that amount at a minimum. And B, I want to have a good relationship for this negotiation as well. So I think city manager has a good strategy here, and hopefully we can get something quickly. But that's kind of where I sit. This needs to happen, and it needs to happen quickly. But the other non-negotiable is we do not have the staff to administer the scheduling and all that. We don't have that type of apparatus, whereas schools have scheduling and all those types of things. So I would hope the administration would be through the district.
City attorney.
So in the past, I've always advised administrators that anytime we're going to enter into an agreement with an outside government agency, that contract be brought before the city council for approval. It's not legally required. It's just, I think, best practice because you're dealing with another government agency and it's inherently political. In this specific case, just to clarify, is the city council, after you have your discussion, it'd be helpful to know, is the city council directing the city manager to draft, to work with me to draft an MOU and to execute on his own? Or do you want this MOU or whatever this agreement looks like to come before the council?
I think it depends on what's in the MOU from my perspective. I mean, yeah, I think when we talk about the collaboration, one of the things that is in my mind, so I agree with kind of the need for urgency on this. I think that's going to be like the bottom line on it. But I also think that there's the other part of collaboration and deepening the collaboration, and something that I'd like to see more of, and I'd like to try to encourage and spend some of my time doing as well. And I'm reminded, Councilmember Goss, you've had one of your, I mean this in all positive, one of your passion projects has been the basketball at the middle school. I don't even know where that is, and if that has stalled out.
Still trying to implement it.
So I mean,
it's been okayed, but we haven't implemented.
So I think this is probably kind of, to me, part of the whole thing is that we've got lots of opportunities to work together. This one is critical, but there's a larger fabric that we should be working on with the school, and I do have to credit Superintendent Blanco for reaching out to us, during the fires, after the reopening. She's done a good job on that, and I'd like to try to build on that and deepen that relationship. And this is the crossing guards, I think, is a perfect place to start.
Yeah, and kind of going back to Councilmember Kareem's comment maybe a month and a half ago to our representative, yeah, I know one of the funding sources that got approved by ballot is for infrastructure, but I would also remind them that on a assessed value on a per parcel area, I would say the city of Sierra Madre is more than picking up their share of that parcel tax.
No doubt about that.
And we're paying into it as well. It's not like we're free riding here. Our residents are paying for it one way or another.
That's a very good point.
And the parcel tax did fund special positions within the district. So the parcel tax, not the bond.
I'm talking about the bond measure.
I know, but I'm saying that we also had a parcel tax that we all that was passed that paid for special positions. So we're paying into that too.
I think specific to the city attorney's request, though, I mean, my personal preference would be that this probably comes back, because I think we're going to need a report on what the nature of the, negotiations were and what the bid ask is. And so I think, as part of that, we would probably want I guess my question procedurally is, it looks like the meeting that you mentioned is scheduled is the day before our next city council meeting. Is there a way to agendize this? It's the 6th, right? And our next meeting is on the 7th, no?
14th.
We're on the 14th.
Oh, sorry. So then never mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great checking.
Could you
Okay.
get that, if that happened, would you be able to present that to council on the 14th?
I don't know that we would have a draft agreement available by then, but I can certainly report back on the substance of the conversation and let the council know what the direction is.
What is would you know, once you've gotten these quotes, since you've gotten these quotes, how fast the implementation time is when you make an agreement with the companies?
That I don't know. They're pretty good. Maybe the chief has more information, but I've dealt with this company in other cities, and they're pretty good about staffing and providing that. I would imagine it would probably be within 30 days, but it could be longer. Chief, did you get any sense of how long it would take them to staff up?
I did not ask, however, he did reiterate that it would take 2 to 4 weeks.
Because then we're looking at October to November. That's Thanksgiving week off. Then they have 2+ weeks off in December, so.
Kind of targeting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're kind of looking at the first of the year. Yeah.
So in summary then, to continue with extra patrol when possible, except for emergencies. And how many patrol officers are working at that time?
So in our deployment, we run 1 sergeant and 2 officers. Right now, we do have some officers in training, so you may see some patrol vehicles with 2 officers, and that's an FTO and a trainee in the vehicle, which is why you're seeing an excess of officers out in the field. We have about 3 officers that are in training at the moment.
So I think I heard Councilmember Krebs kind of give the general direction of develop an MOU with the school district and bring it back to council. Just kind of taking the temperature here. Is that what other council members feel?
Yeah, I withdraw my idea of, giving you direction, arguing duration.
Okay.
I'm fine with this.
Okay. Do you need, this is a discussion item. I don't believe that there needs to be a vote on it.
Do we want?
What about the first 4 items?
Do we want to
Yeah,
vote?
the
on
first
items?
For sure.
Thank you all. Yes. Let's bifurcate this. And actually, we've got 3 items here. So I think I really appreciate that. Let's look at this. It's the first. We've got 3 items. There's 4 things with the crosswalks. There is the motorcycle, and then there is the MOU. So it's 7 items total. 4, 1, and 1. So 6 items total. Does that make sense? Broken into 3 groups. So the first, so here, let me try this again. So we've got 4 things that I'd like to bring up first. That's the repainting the crosswalks, school zone signage, LED signs, and in-roadway pedestrian signs.
I would call these the public works items, maybe?
Thank you. I appreciate that. The public works items. So,
I move that we do that and pay for it.
great. Do I have a second?
And that's, we don't need a budget amendment or anything, because this is already kind of within our.
I think we can cover it
Normal
within our
operating.
existing appropriations, yeah.
Great.
Should I just make a motion for that?
So
He
there
just-
was one,
he-
I'll
he has
second.
been moved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. So that first motion carries. So then the second is for the, you've got a
Oh, I just
confused
have a
looking.
question. I'm sorry,
Please,
I was
ask the
waiting for-
question.
I guess if the cost is not coming out of the general fund, what is our, like, approval role in this? Because we don't typically, for the motorcycle, we don't typically
Right.
approve, I don't know, maybe we do, expenditures
purchases.
but not coming out of the budget. It's weird.
Well, you technically do when you adopt the budget.
Right.
There is a replacement schedule, and when you're adopting the budget, you're adopting that replacement schedule. This item, because it hasn't been budgeted, the direction that we would seek from the council is that you give us authorization to inquire about purchasing this item. We will contact vendors, we will get some quotations, then we will come back to you with a request for approval of a purchase order, and we'll then use that to acquire the vehicle. If at that time we determine that we need a supplemental appropriation from like the asset forfeiture fund or donation fund or whatever, we'll request that at that time.
And I'd like to add to look for funding from either some of the programs that the chief had already mentioned to pay for those things.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And even with California consultants, seeing if there's any grants available.
Sure.
For that, because it's a capital item, it's a perfect use for grants. Okay, so do you have enough guidance for that item? Do you want to vote on it?
I would prefer a motion that you direct staff to get quotes and come back with a purchase order for the acquisition of a motorcycle.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great.
So then would you also like a motion to enter negotiations with PUSD?
That I don't need. I'll take care of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And the crossing guards, I don't believe we need to take any action until we come back with the
Correct.
MOU. Great.
Okay, cool.
Thank you all. Great discussion. Let's move on to the next item. Chief Barrientos, you're back up here for talking about downtown parking enforcement. We have Sergeant Cadzo. Great.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. How are you tonight?
Good evening. Good to see you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. We're here to provide an update on the proposed downtown parking enforcement pilot program and seek your direction on the next steps. At the council meeting on the 27th of May, staff presented a proposal to launch a one-year pilot program that included the use of municipal parking services, called MPS, and their safety stick technology. The goal of this program was to address one of the more frequent complaints from our downtown businesses and residents, violations of the time parking ordinances. The proposed system uses solar-powered camera-enabled devices to automatically monitor vehicles for overstays. The city would not have to purchase the devices, software, or pay for installation and training. Since the initial meeting, Sierra Madre Police Department, under the direction of the former and current city manager, has conducted extensive outreach to gather community feedback. We mailed over 2,600 flyers with QR code surveys. We advertised them in the local newspapers. The surveys were posted on social media and the city website, which received thousands of views. We also had our officers and volunteers hand deliver flyers to residents and the downtown businesses to request they be posted in the windows. We held 4 meetings, 2 focused on the businesses and 2 on the broader community. The outreach effort led to significant feedback. The final community survey, we had 365 responses, with 96% of them showing to be from the city of Sierra Madre. 71% of all respondents identified parking as a problem. The top issues identified were lack of available spaces, inadequate signage, and a need for consistent enforcement. Business owners, though a smaller group of about 11 respondents, highlighted that customer turnover is hindered by a lack of consistent enforcement. There was also a strong sentiment for amending the 20-minute parking to a 30-minute parking zone to provide more flexibility for the stop-and-go businesses. As part of the due diligence, we asked MPS to provide a 5-year projection for the new solar-powered parking meters. According to their estimates, the program, with 145 devices, estimated to generate approximately $1.88 million in total revenue over 5 years, with the city's share averaging approximately $289,000 annually in later years. It's important to note, however, these are projections. They're not based on long-term historical data. NPS was forced to change the technology during the pandemic. The current meters have only been in operation since 2022. Long-term performance data does not yet exist. The 5-year projections are based on the most realistic baseline from the second year of data, and actual performance may vary. Based on the community feedback and our analysis, we're presenting 3 alternatives for the City Council to consider. The first alternative would be to proceed with a pilot program. This alternative would involve moving forward with the NPS pilot program, which would be installed in approximately 200 downtown spaces. The next alternative would be to take no action. This option would be to maintain the current status quo regarding parking enforcement, and the program could be revisited at a later time. The third alternative is to pursue a downtown parking study. We could solicit proposals from qualified firms and conduct an independent parking study to identify what, if any, technology is right for Sierra Madre. The staff recommendation is to pursue the professional downtown parking study. The overwhelming community sentiment was 66.7% of respondents supporting a study versus only 16.6% supporting the pilot. Makes it clear that this is the community preferred path. A study would provide us with unbiased data, ensuring transparency and guiding us toward a long-term solution that truly aligns with our community's needs. We have estimated that a professional study could cost between $20,000 and $50,000. While this represents an initial investment, it is crucial to step toward creating a sustainable and effective parking strategy for our city's future. There's no financial impact at this time. This aligns with our city's strategic plan to enhance public safety and community livability, promote economic vitality by supporting local businesses, and pursue innovation and operational efficiency. Thank you for your time and your consideration. I'm now available for questions.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Yes.
Questions?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, please.
I appreciate the report. Thank you very much. You note that a number of the respondents to the survey or feedback that you got in your meetings indicated that there's concern with enforcement. And just for our benefit and for the public's benefit, is someone able to explain or detail? My understanding is that we have a contract with a third-party enforcement organization. I think that the overwhelming resident sentiment is that that's not working out, and obviously that comes at a cost to the city as well. So is part of this, as part of this assessment, are we reassessing that contract and that relationship, and does that cost then, factor in, or alleviating that cost factor into the costs of other avenues?
I'm going to let Chief handle that question since it's based on contract.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So no, we don't have a third-party contract. We did at one time with Intercon. However, they weren't unable to fulfill the deployment needs of Sierra Madre. So we terminated the contract about a year ago. We moved into the community service officers, so we've never had a true parking enforcement appointment in the city. And we were using our community service officers who were limited to the $960 a year. So they could only deploy 2 days a week. And unfortunately, we've had a lot of turnaround with the employees that we've hired as a community service officer.
Okay. And so are we still in search of solutions for an internal enforcement solution? Is that still an ongoing process, or is that, and it's separate and apart from the types of technologies that we might be, addressing here?
Thank you for the question. I think what we need to do is, if we're going to move forward internally, I think we need to push for either a full-time or a few part-time parking enforcement officers with that title, so that their primary duty and responsibility is parking enforcement only. That would be my recommendation. That's something that we've discussed with our assistant city manager to see if maybe we can convert at least one of the CSO positions. We have 2 right now that are vacant, maybe 1 into a parking enforcement officer only. However, they would be limited to the 960, so enforcement 2 days a week. That's where we come up short. So either we hire 3 additional or 4 to cover the 7 days, or we hire 1 full-time and 1 part-time. That's something we have to have a discussion.
Thank you.
I have a question, but I think this might be for Public Works. So after we finish the downtown Main project and the repaving and the sidewalks, I remember there being a plan for our parking lots and our parking spaces on the streets as well as the public lots for surveying, either realigning, finding more spaces, what plans we could do for lighting, all types of different things for the downtown district and the parking lots. Do you remember that being?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, it was something that was discussed. Initiation began as far as plans. Pretty much seized, died out, wasn't pursued.
Why was that?
I believe it was a previous administration that was dealing with, spearheading that. I can resurrect that and bring it back to council if you desire.
My guess would be that would be part of a survey is actually looking at our parking in Sierra Madre, especially in our downtown business regions, as well as our trails whenever they get back up to par. And that would be part of the survey is what's appropriate for time. Because I have no idea. I don't know what people need. And it seems like the feedback is really valuable. So I really appreciate all the surveys you guys did for the PD and all the canvassing of the city and everything, because it looks like we got a lot of really good feedback from our residents as well as our businesses. So I think that would be part of the survey is what do we have available and what timing should it be? I'm guessing that's what the survey would answer.
Yeah, and that can be included in the scope of work. So there's a couple things that you're asking for in your question, right? Like what are peak times, what is turnover, what is utilization, are people able to find all of our parking lots using appropriate wayfinding and signage and those types of things. Just anecdotally, some of the times that I've been walking in the downtown and I'm looking at our parking signs, they're pretty dated and faded, and it's hard to identify where all the parking is, right? So wayfinding would be part of that assessment. Utilization, demand, peak times. Are Thursday afternoons higher than Wednesday mornings, et cetera? Like what are we seeing in terms of parking usage? The other piece to that, sort of related to the enforcement piece, is we could also include in the scope of work that based off of a downtown of our size and the type of utilization that we have and the type of demand that we have, what are the technologies or the programs that already exist in other places that are effective at managing the time restrictions that we have through an enforcement mechanism, right? Is it third-party vendor? Is it technology? Is it more cost-effective to hire internal officers and do it ourselves? Those are the types of things that we would rely on the consultant to provide us with some guidance on. And then the other piece is, are we fully maximizing the parking spaces and parking lots that we have with the existing striping and layouts that we have? Are there ways to create more parking spaces, more utilization, those types of things? So all of that we can include in a scope of work that they can analyze for us and provide us with those recommendations.
So how does this relate to the circulation element?
I don't know that it does, because this is more related to just parking as opposed to how people move through the city.
But isn't parking part of how people move through the city? Like what modes of transportation, what streets they move on? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out.
Yeah.
And then we've got you may see where I'm going with this. We've got the Berkeley study as well.
Right.
Yeah. I'm seeing this as another Harlequin, right?
Well,
it's another patchwork for another thing that doesn't fit in with anything else. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe parking should be separate, but.
Yeah, so mobility and circulation are important items to discuss and to understand in terms of how Sierra Madre residents and visitors come through the downtown, come through the city, and be able to move through and access all the amenities that we have to offer and then access other amenities outside of Sierra Madre. How to connect folks to regional transportation and things of that nature within our existing street infrastructure, right? So that's one piece to it. The downtown parking, I would argue that is, it's separate and apart from all of that. Certainly, if we're looking at sort of multimodal transportation options and complete streets and those types of things, we may want to take that into consideration for the consultant to say, do we have space to be able to do some of those things? But in terms of what I thought the initial sort of request was, is how do we manage parking in the downtown to ensure that residents and visitors that are accessing the downtown are able to find parking during those peak hours, or that we're fully utilizing the amenities and assets that we have in place existing, and are people able to find them and locate them, and does that all of that sort of work for everybody?
Did this come at a request for council?
The downtown study was my idea after having spoken with the chief, having
spoken with parking, was this something, I don't remember it being, it was?
Yeah, we were presented with the pilot program.
I understand
We were
that,
presented
but-
with parking things, and we agendized.
So,
but
spun out of a revenue,
Yes.
a revenue.
Okay.
Former city manager Reynoso encouraged both our safety departments to come up with
That's
sources
it.
of revenue.
Thank you.
And this is how this
Yep.
came about. Yeah.
Thank you, that helps.
So that kind of supersedes the other question I was going to ask, is was this the only product that we looked at? Were any other products looked at? This was the only one?
This was the only one, and it comes to the question of intent, right? What are we trying to accomplish, with parking in the downtown? Are we trying to generate a revenue source, or are we trying to maximize utility of the available spaces so that people have equal access and there's constant turnover in the business, or both, right? And some combination thereof. But the solution as presented, I think, is more leaning towards one side of the spectrum, and we don't have good data to be able to say, is 30 minutes sufficient? Is 2-hour parking sufficient? Maybe it's another sort of time regime, and we haven't studied that issue to really come up with a good answer for the council to make an informed decision.
And did electric vehicle chargers enter into any of the thoughts at all?
We can always include that in the scope if that's the council's wish.
Well, yes, because we do have Tesla charging stations coming as part of our public space for parking, so that will take up 12 spots?
12 or 16.
16 spots, and so therefore can we realign those things?
Councilmember Goss, you haven't asked any questions. Do you have any questions on this one?
You guys are doing a great job.
Okay. Just want to make sure you've got an opportunity.
No,
I
guess I'm not getting an epiphany that our residents aren't happy with parking downtown. I haven't been happy with parking downtown since I've lived here. We don't have enough parking downtown. So, I mean, we can only play around with the parking spaces so much. We only have so much. It seems to me like the answer is to somehow get people to use the parking lots more behind our businesses. And I think maybe that comes to signage, but I guess that's my question, is how, would it make a big difference if we went from 20 to 30 minutes? Is that really gonna move that many more people through? It seems like parking enforcement makes good sense. We ought to be doing it, but I don't know. Sounds to me like it's kind of expensive, or we'd be doing it now.
We don't know.
That would be my question, I guess. So I'd kind of like to know that. How expensive would it be, and would the revenue that we generate from that come close to paying for it?
Can we use downtown district funds?
So the recommendation to do the study would come from the Downtown Assessment District Fund, so there wouldn't be a general fund impact. In terms of, sort of modeling costs and revenue and those types of things, the consultant would be able to provide us with sort of typical revenue generation for downtown our size. How many tickets get written if we do have an enforcement program? What does that revenue look like? And then based off of some assumptions in terms of our costs, if we did staffing, if we did parking polls or some other type of enforcement program, they can provide us with some some ideas of what we're looking at in terms of costs and
How many handicap spots there should be and where they should be.
all of that. And is the current marking and striping sufficient for how people park? Like, there are 20-minute spots in certain areas that may or may not make sense, right? And so they can provide us with those recommendations as well.
So can I go back up, Mr. Mayor, just a second?
Yeah, please.
So when we said we wanted to engage in a pilot study, that's all we were talking about. Let's see if this works. Let's see if there's any potential here, right?
Yep.
So is that now off the table, or are we now going to go in a different direction?
That's up to the council. I mean, if you'd like to proceed with the pilot study in some limited fashion in a certain part of the downtown, we can implement that. We can do that and a downtown parking study. We can just do the study. We can put 200 of those things in the downtown and just have an enforcement, through the technology.
The cost of the parking study would come out of the assessment district.
That's correct.
That wouldn't hit the general fund.
That's correct.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't feel like 200 parking sticks feels very piloty to me. Like I think when we first
So
started talking about it,
we're moving into discussion, so.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're still in questions?
Yeah.
We're still at questions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's go.
Sorry.
Version of the question.
We're a town of 3.5 square miles, as we like to say very often. So it's, thank you. So amended. It's very easy to get from one side of the city to the other on foot and bike. So how does that fit into like parking? Because if you could incent more people to walk or bike there, through any type of promotion or incentives, can that be part of all of this?
I think
Is
that's
it how far? Like, I'm trying to make sure I understand
Yeah.
that like how big is the sandbox on this, and not make it a full beach, but maybe something a little bit smaller.
So I think the sandbox is just the downtown parking element to it, right? When you're talking about mobility plans and alternative modes and all of that kind of stuff, then we're looking beyond just the downtown.
Okay.
In terms of how do people access Sierra Madre? What are our main thoroughfares and corridors? That's more of a multimodal sort of planning study. There are opportunities for us to partner with regional organizations like SCAG. They have funds set aside for cities to do complete street studies and things of that nature, where we have the multimodal offerings, protected bike lanes, dedicated lanes for buses or transportation providers and things of that nature. That is separate and apart from just looking at how do people park in the downtown, how long are they there, what is the turnover, what is high demand, those types of things, so that we can figure out what type of mechanism that we need to do enforcement in the downtown, if that's even part of it, right? If we have the right markings in the right spaces, that problem takes care of itself through self-policing. I know we've all traveled and been to different cities, and every time you walk into a parking garage or a surface lot, there's some different piece of technology, some other app you have to download, right, in order to do that enforcement. So we would want to find the right piece of technology that's right for Sierra Madre. And if it's parking poles, so be it. But we would look to the consultant to provide us with that guidance.
You would see transportation and parking as two different things.
Well, they're interrelated, but if we're going to look at transportation, we should look at transportation holistically throughout the entire city. Here we're talking about downtown parking.
Understood.
And that also would affect funding, right? Like, we would not have the latitude to use the downtown district funding for the broader.
And there's that piece of the equation as well.
And I think the scope is too broad at that point. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you're talking about the whole mobility plan for the city of Sierra Madre versus parking, it's just the scope is totally different.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
And the other piece I may add, right, is one thing for the council to consider as part of this scope is that any revenues generated from a downtown parking program, where do we allocate those revenues to, right? Does that become a general fund revenue source, or do we dedicate those revenues to future improvements in the downtown for economic development programs and future replacements and whatever that might look like?
Okay.
Yeah, I have a few questions. Thank you.
Please.
Thank you, Sergeant Kadzow, for the presentation and the report. It was great.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Kind of going back to our previous presentation from, was it MDS?
MPS.
MPS. It was a late night presentation, but I specifically asked for 3D modeling within the city of Sierra Madre and or a similar business district that looks like Sierra Madre where these have been implemented. Have we received those models? And they assured me they would provide those to us.
I know they were working on a model where they did do our downtown. They showed what it would look like. They were not 3D. So I can go back to them and ask them to create those. But, and I'll try and provide you what they did send us.
And kind of going back to the pilot. So it says within the staff report up to 200. To me, that I'm not going to get into discussion, but is that their idea of a pilot, or
no? Initially, when this started, we were looking from the downtown area up to Hermosa on the boulevard from Baldwin to Hermosa. As we looked across the street, we saw there was additional spots, and we weren't sure if people would wonder why we stopped right there. So we decided if the council decides we want to stop at Hermosa, we could stop at Hermosa, but we might as well do the work all the way down to, I think the library is the last spot that has 20-minute parking zones.
Okay. And as far as the forecast, I think it was 145, but I think you mentioned in your oral report that there has not been enough data. So, I'm trying to figure out, these forecasts are not scientific at all. I mean, we're really kind of just guessing.
Well, they have a few years. Their technology had to change. Initially, when they started, they were hardwired poles, and during the pandemic, that hurt their business a lot, and they were forced to change direction in their technologies, and they went to these solar poles. And now it's more popular in the East Coast right now, but they're going to a lot of cities in the East Coast, and that's where their data is coming from for the past 2 to 3 years.
So is the Somerville pilot, is that with the solar technology?
I'm sorry?
Is the Somerville pilot with the solar technology?
Correct.
Do you want to finish your question?
Yeah, it's fine.
I've got another one.
Yeah, and kind of thinking back, we spent a lot of money updating our sidewalks recently, and I asked specifically of the impact it would have on our infrastructure, especially because we were actually, when I recall, discussing or asking about an actual pilot program, maybe 20 sticks, and see how that works. But one of my concerns was, what does that do to our sidewalk? And I don't know that he gave me an answer, and he was going to come back with that?
I can answer that. The installation of these poles requires 3 bolts that are drilled into the ground, and they just stick up, and you place it on there, bolt it down. If you decide in the future to go with metered parking, you can take that one out and put one in with those same 3 bolts.
Let's say you decide in the future you don't want anything.
Then you take that out and you patch those holes.
Okay.
Is that on the street, the curb, or the
It would be on the
sidewalk?
curb.
So in the information, the Somerville had 60 poles in their pilot, and the article it had with it said that they went from 10 citations to 1 citation per day.
Mm-hmm.
For our estimates, it said that we were going to 4,300 ballpark to like 2,200 ballpark, about a 50% decrease. So I'm trying to square that circle. Is that in Somerville it went from 10 to 1, and in Sierra Madre they were going to go to, they're only going to decrease by half. And so, any idea kind of where they're coming from that? Because that makes a big difference. That's goes from 181,000 in revenue in months 3 to 6 to 36,000. That's that's a big difference in money.
Mm-hmm. I would have to look into that specific study they gave you. I do know that this poll is more about changing behavior, and that's what it's designed to do. It's metered parking is meant to someone pays for parking right away. This poll is meant to change behavior. You leave when you're supposed to, or you get a citation.
Got it.
So that's where the drop is. I'm not familiar with.
No,
the study,
absolutely.
so.
Yeah. It just seemed the discrepancy just seemed odd to me, and I was just trying to understand that.
Yeah, Chief was just reminding me, one of the reasons that we were looking at MPS This is a way to have enforcement in the downtown. As you have already been told, we have 2 officers, 1 sergeant. This would help us alleviate that pressure. It would bring equitable enforcement to everyone who violates in town, and it would not punish people for coming to our downtown. It would give them a way. All you have to do is leave on time or use our parking lots, which is underutilized from what most community during the meetings have felt.
So going back to the estimates, the president or CEO of the company I was asking questions specific to the enforcement piece, and he told me that we would have to have an officer sit down and go through every picture, and I'm looking at 4,350 citations in 3 months. Do we have the capacity to have an officer sit down and look at 4,350 license plates, true them up, and see if this is in fact a white plate, I think that's what he called them, or whether or not we're gonna click enforcement on that? Do we have the staff to even do that piece of it?
So that would be a challenge. However, I do think that is a challenge that we can overcome and figure out. I think that is a duty that several officers might have to take on, but I do believe that is a challenge that we can overcome.
Thank you, Sergeant Gazzo.
Other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much. We'll now open it up to public comment. Madam City Clerk, do we have any comment cards for this item?
We do, and we also received 2 emails that were forwarded to the City Council in advance of the meeting from Ashley Bonenfant and Ali Everett. And the 1 speaker card that we received this evening is from Ron Bradley.
Great. Mr. Bradley.
Hello, Council. Ron Brandley. I live at 145 South Lima, just up above you. And we have Leonora Moss, which is 9 Kirstein Court. If I'm not mistaken, in the last 10 years, didn't we redo the whole parking in Sierra Madre? And they finished up Kirstein Court a year or 2 ago and made it really nice, perfect parking. That's my recollection anyhow. I came to ask some specific questions, but I don't think you're ready for them yet. If you're interested about bicycles, come down on Saturday morning and Sunday morning. You can't drive the streets. If you're interested in parking problems, come down Friday afternoon when all the schools are out and the kids are down in Kirstein Court. You can't find anything. If you're interested in parking problems, watch the kids on their bikes. They drive faster than the professional guys that ride their bikes through town. Having heard the 3 options, as much as I do not like drawing things out, I think a whole new look at this would be more practical. I was at a meeting about a month ago or so with here, and there were just a few people here, and it kind of fell apart. I understood that there was only like 250 inquiries or complaints to the police department last year for parking problems. Seems to me that there was only less than 300, 250, whatever. We're going to penalize people coming into town. We're going to penalize local people that don't get caught at a $100 ticket. And that's what I was told it was going to cost, was a $100 ticket. 1 minute over 30 minutes, and it's $100. Everyone I talked to, and it wasn't a professional knocking on doors thing, just people walking through our store, they were aghast at a $100 ticket. I do deliveries for our store. I do it in Sierra Madre. I do it in Burbank, La Cañada, Montrose, Glendale, Los Angeles. They all have parking problems. The hardest thing to do is to find a place to park. Even in Montrose, and they have some great parking areas, it's finding them and then making sure they're not a quarter mile away from where you want to make the delivery. Burbank's the same way, La Cañada's the same way. Every city in the local San Gabriel Valley has a parking problem. Monrovia has a parking problem. It's all timing. Luckily, I have a license plate that I can cheat a little bit on. I can just turn on my blinkers and get away with it if I can find a place to park. So my recommendation, after hearing what was said today, is to put it off, get a really good understanding of the parking situation. Kirstein Court, I think one side is 30 minutes and the other side is 2 hours.
Could you please wrap up your comments?
Pardon me?
Could you please wrap up your comments?
No, I think it's there now.
No, I'm asking you to wrap up. We've got a 3-minute limit on your time.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's okay.
Didn't know about, it's the first time I've been in front of you guys in 20
long
years, so.
That's no worries. We appreciate you coming.
Mr. Mayor, there are no other speaker cards on this item.
Great. All right. Who would like to start the discussion? What?
I can say
Please.
that I'm not invested in this idea of the pilot study. I was interested in it only because it was a pilot study, and I thought it would be much smaller scale than 200 units. And it's obvious that it's not particularly popular with the public, so I'm ready to reject that now. What do we replace it with? I think Mr. Branley may be right. Maybe we should turn this over to professionals to study and pay for it with the assessment district.
And I'd like to say that, I know this came up as part of a, revenue generation, conversation, but I mean, personally, I am not really on board with the idea that we're going to generate revenue by fining mostly our residents. I know there are, obviously we have lots of people come in from out of town, but, most of the people parking in our local spots are people who live here. And, while I appreciate the idea and the creativity of solving our, revenue concerns, that's, to me, like from a policy standpoint, not sort of the direction I would go in. I mean, I am all for figuring out if enforcement and fines and meters or whatever the kind of revenue generating items could then support, the enforcement efforts, right, to the extent that we could get a match between, funding enforcement and paying for that as a self-sustaining thing. That makes sense to me, but I'm not looking to make money for the city as a predictable revenue source by fining people. I just think personally, I think that's just a bad policy decision. And yeah, I totally agree. Like 200 does not sound like a pilot to me. And without the mock-ups, the picture in my head of what 200 parking sticks looks like in our town is not good. I mean, and I suspect that the mock-ups also don't look good, which is maybe why we don't have them. So, yeah, I don't think it's a pilot, and, I don't think that I would not support a long-term program without having a lot more information and a lot more sense of what it is going to look like and how it's going to benefit our community with 200 installations.
I don't think I would trust the data either, because there is no data to support the revenue forecast. It's not based on previous data of other cities, and it doesn't even state like where these areas are or what, it isn't fact-based. So I just wouldn't believe that either.
Yeah. I think we have I feel the way this direction is going, but with that, I want to applaud staff for really kind of getting this together at request, getting it in front of us, spending time, sending out surveys, having meetings, all these things that staff did. I just want to applaud you guys for the work that you did here. But I think what it did was it opened up this broader conversation of what we need to do and what we ought to do. And we have a assessment district for a reason, and one of those reasons could be to implement this study that could hopefully give us some professional guidance rather than us kind of guessing on what would be best to alleviate some of the concerns of the business owners and even enhance more people frequenting the businesses. So I'm not in favor of these parking sticks right now, unless it comes back that that's what's going on. But behavior does need to change. I see that, and I know some of the businesses are stating that. But I'm not sure that this is these parking sticks are the direction we want to go as far as changing behavior or augmenting behavior. Just anecdotally, I parked on South Lake the other day. I think I paid 60 cents with one of those apps. I had to download an app, a new app. But it was in my mind, it was more about, yeah, I paid, but it was more of a reminder I can either add more time or I need to go. And I wasn't scared I was going to get a ticket, even though I would have, but it was more about alleviating and leaving that spot. And psychologically, I think that kind of worked for me. But again, I don't know. I want to leave it to the experts to give us some opinions on that. That's where I'm sitting on this.
Agreement.
So, I appreciate all the discussion on this. I will echo, I appreciate the work that staff has done on it. And I do think that we need to look at the parking. I definitely agree that, you know, the parking signs are going to need to be updated. I think having an overall study makes sense. What I'm wrestling with, and I think you can hear it from some of my questions, is that where does this lie in the priority list, right? Is this something that you know, we do hear that it's a problem, but I'm, you know, based on the stuff that I'm reading, what I'm hearing, it's kind of a little bit, it's like there's a lot of different opinions on it, and I'm not sure that I have a full clear direction. And to me, it's like, you know, where are our priorities? Like right now, when we're trying to look at budget, we're trying to look at staff. Is this a problem that we have to solve now? How big of an issue is? What are we trading off in trying to do this?
Well, I can give you a quick example of that. So in our back parking lot, what crime did we have in our back parking lot this year? We had a threat with arrests made because we don't have signage that says no overnight parking in the certain particular areas. So we had crime going on back there. We had people's or unhoused sleeping back there because there isn't signage the same way. So if you go back in one of our parking lots, you don't know what the law says right there. You don't know which spots are allowed what.
And how many incidents have we had this year? 2?
We had 2 incidents of that, but they were living back there for over 2 years.
For 2 years. Okay.
And
okay. I think, you know, my thought is that, you know, so that's a very compelling point, and I think that you know, pushes more towards having the study and looking at what the needs are. I just, you know, the thing the biggest thing that's under my frustration right now is that looking at transportation in the city more holistically. And I get the argument that parking is separate from transportation, or I hear the argument that parking is separate from transportation. I'm not sure I completely agree. I see how they're separate, but you get people on foot or on bikes to get to someplace, you solve part of your parking problem, right? And so if we go forward with the parking study, part of my request is to see an overall strategy of how it fits in with all the other transportation elements within the city, so that we start thinking holistically and strategically about this. So I'm fine with it going forward, and it can just, you know, maybe it's just the buckets on it, but that would help me feel a whole lot better, because I keep seeing like all of these small problems that we're dealing with, and we're not linking them together. And I think we're missing opportunities to bring the community together, to keep people healthy, to get people to our businesses. I mean, there's a whole lot of benefits to it. And so that's part of my stress and my frustration on this, is that I'd like to understand more of how we're dealing with transportation overall.
You know, and Mr. Mayor, I completely agree with you. You know, every time I get an email from a resident, John Lloyd, is his first name John?
Yes.
Yeah. I said, this guy's right. He's always right. Because, you know, if we had a encouragement and a system for me to, you know, I try to walk to downtown as often as I can. I don't ride my bike because I need to fix my bike up, frankly. But that does alleviate the problem. For a more walkable city, I would not drive as often. And you know, we know as residents, we park behind the old city hall, behind the Playhouse, and we park behind, you know, off of Mariposa, because we know we're not going to find a spot in Kirsty Court. We'll do one pass through. So that as residents, we do know that. I avoid going down there on Fridays, as Mr. Brandley said, because I do not want to be part of that madness. But we don't know whose behavior we're trying to change, because a lot of our residents are doing what you're mentioning. But I think you're right. But I also think this parking issue does need to be looked at. Is it urgent? as Mr. Brandley said, this has been going on for a long time here in this town, and it's not only a Sierra Madre problem. So maybe it's not as urgent, depending on staff time. But I'm with you. But I do think this does need to be looked at eventually, and maybe sooner rather than later, but not crazy urgent.
Thank you. Yeah, and I like just to take this as a leverage. Mr. City Manager, how many bikes do we have from SGV do we have in the basement?
2 right now.
Is it 2? 3? How many?
2.
I need one of those.
Is it 2? But here's the point, right? You said you need one of them, and here's another opportunity where we haven't it is related to whether or not you have to park in the city, right? And the option between parking and walking. And if there's a bike available and we're not promoting it, we've got a missed opportunity. And that's my bigger point is parking is related to transportation and movement.
Well, to be fair, I'm pretty sure Councilmember Garcia knew about these bikes, so I don't think it's a failure of promotion. It's just he has not availed himself of that opportunity.
I have not filled out the waiver, and I haven't picked it up.
But I forgot.
Half our
about it myself.
residents
I
do
did
live
too.
up the hill.
We have a
hilly city.
I use mine, and every time somebody talks to me about it, I say the city has them for borrowing. So I mean, not that I'm tooting my own horn, but I just want to point out that I don't think it's in Councilmember Garcia's case. I don't think it's a failure of communication. I don't want to go too far down this road because I know it's not really part of the agenda items and it's a little bit tangential. But I do want to just be practical. Like, we have funds in the downtown district for use for this, and so in terms of funding, I know I appreciate your point about this piecemeal situation, but the facts on the ground typically, and the reason why that exists is not because we want it to exist that way. It's because we are limited in resources of all kinds, and so we tend to have a little bit more of a reactionary approach to things, and we're limited on the scope of things that we could do. Like, would I love to do a citywide mobility study, and create a more active cities? Of course, but I feel like we have funds to look at part of that problem and maybe address part of the problem, and a systemic problem, as we've all heard, that has to be limited, right? So we can't use those funds to do the broader piece. And so I feel like, yes, it's a little patchwork, but it's a patchwork we can afford. Now, the staff question is a different one. I mean, that's really a question of allocation of human resources, which, that the city manager should address. But I mean, I think we could also take action tonight and not require a report back next meeting. I mean, we could authorize it, and it could be worked into the management of staff appropriately by the executives that we've authorized that.
Could part of that survey also include, I know it's the timing is question, like what is appropriate time limits on these areas and what would be an appropriate system for charging for parking, but would that also include the fines that are appropriate? Because in our fee study, we only did one set fee for all violations. So if you park in a let's say this, you park in a 20-minute zone and you park over, or you're in a 2-hour zone, it's all $100. If you park in a diagonal parking spot, if you park in someone's driveway or you're blocking their driveway, it's $100. So it's all universal. Would that study also say what's appropriate? I mean, I know our fee study is based on what it cost us, but doesn't it seem inappropriate that we
Well, and city attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, but when it comes to fines, I think it's not a cost recovery type item. It's, how do our fines compare to like neighboring jurisdictions, and are we charging an appropriate amount and those types of things, right? So it's not like how much are we charging for a permit and all of that. That being said, if that's something the council wants to include in the scope, are there different fines for different types of violations within a 30-minute zone, an hour zone, a 2-hour zone? We can certainly add that. I don't know what conclusion the consultant would come up with that would be different than what we did when we compared, our current fee structure to our neighbors and came up with that $100.
I don't think we did. I think we did cost recovery only for those fines for the parking bail schedule.
Okay.
And I would love to actually have that looked at as part of this, is what is appropriate compared to other cities, and go back and change that. Because like I said, I've heard lots of complaints from residents. Why am I being charged $100 for parking overnight? But if I moved my car within 20-minute zone and I was misparked and I was 5 minutes over, I'm paying $100, so I might as well leave my car there all night.
So parking is not governed by the same things that traffic violations are. Parking's different than traffic, because we heard earlier from the chief that, you know, in the school zones, we were limited to what we could do in charging. So parking fees are different than moving violations.
So there's a maximum on what you can charge for traffic violations? I don't know what that maximum is, but it's set by the state.
Okay.
So, but you can go up to that maximum, and that difference between, whatever, I guess there's no minimum. So, traffic violations.
Traffic, did you mean parking?
Well, parking being a subset of a traffic
okay.
infraction.
Thank you.
Parking is one of those few subsets where the city could make money because it's not subject to the bail schedule that the chief was talking about earlier.
So we do get more money back on parking infractions than we do on speeding and stop signs and all of that, because you don't have the same bail conditions.
It depends on the nature of how we process that violation, right? If we're using a third-party vendor, they're going to take, you know, their rake and all of that versus us doing it internally or, you know, some other mechanism.
So from a staff perspective,
yeah,
where is, like, if we were to go forward, funding it from the downtown assessment district, where is this kind of in your assessment of the priorities we've been given you and the priorities of the city?
Yeah.
You know, how is this going to impact staff time, and what would we not be? You know, what types of things might we not be doing?
I don't think there's a real like opportunity cost that if we're doing this, then we're gonna miss out on doing the other thing. It's just one more thing. You know, typically when you know, departments build their budgets and their work plans for the year, you know, a lot of the things that we do are, you know, the 90% of the routine items that are baked in, right? And there is capacity every year, you know, for council to make additional requests of staff, and we allocate time and resources to all of that. So, you know, given that it's a new year and, you know, we're sort of getting into the vibe of things and trying to adjust and make adjustments, I think this is something we can do. Most of the heavy lifting is really going to be with the scope of work and drafting the RFP and putting that out there, that we have a comprehensive scope of work that addresses all of the concerns that we're hearing from the survey, the feedback that we've got from the council, and then, you know, sitting down with the consultants after we've received their proposals and really understanding their approach to addressing the scope that we've provided. Then we're sort of cutting them loose to do the scientific work, right? And at that point, they'll come back to us with a report. You know, we'd have to have a staff person dedicated to sort of take charge of that report and, you know, do the staff report and, you know, prepare all of that for the council. But we would require that the consultant come in and give the presentation to the council, do the community outreach, those types of things. All of that is fairly normal and typical of a study like this. So it's really more of an administrative burden, if you will, than, you know, dedicating staff time, you know, after hours to do those types of things that, you know, our police department has been working overtime trying to accomplish.
And you've been finding opportunities to leverage for other, you know, other grants or other RFOs, other ways of RFPs, ways of getting this information out. Is there any things that you bring in your new experience to us that can help reduce costs, reduce time, increase efficiency? I mean, you know, I think of the Ring Central. I think of the one that we approved for the open space element. Like, you know, those are things that, like, you know, we could just grab from someone else. I'm not necessarily seeing it here, but I want to ask the question to see, is there any, you know, thing that we can do that we can steal or leverage or build upon from somewhere in someone else?
Related to the parking study, or
Yes.
just citywide? I mean, we can certainly reach out to our professional network of colleagues in the planning space that do these types of things and see if they have an RFP that we can use as a template for our scope of work and make it customized to the needs of Sierra Madre and the feedback that we've received. That'll certainly cut down on a lot of the lead time in generating you know the RFP. In terms of technology or efficiencies or implementation of those things, I don't know that there's, you know, anything other than the outcome of the study itself that would lend towards that.
Got it. Okay. So, thoughts from the staff? Do we give guidance to move forward to develop the parking study? Do we give any guidance on priority or timeline?
So, we need to talk, I think we need to talk about the automated downtown parking enforcement program, because that was the meat of the report. Going back to that, I think I can feel the temperature of the council, but one of the other issues I had was it's only reading license plates, and some people have handicap placards that hang from their rearview mirror, and they have to opt in to say, no, I can park longer and call, and that's another issue I had with it.
Yeah.
It's not reading those.
Well, and with those hanging ones, is that they're not always hanging there. Like, my daughter has one of those, and if I'm driving the car, I'm not allowed to use that. So that same license plate, it all depends on who's driving it, and who is in the car on what it does. So that's one of the complications, exactly what you're talking about.
And I
we've
think
also
that would-
heard about front license plates and all of that.
And equity issues, I think, would be a big problem because of that.
Yeah. You were going to say something?
I don't think there's any support for that here.
Yeah, I don't think, okay.
Okay, so we're not going to proceed with the pilot parking, the MPS study.
Motion.
So.
No, if you're not going to do it, you don't need to
Okay.
Okay.
make a motion that you're not doing.
Just to give you guidance on what the next steps would be then?
Yeah, if you want to give me directions on pursuing a downtown parking study, that I'd prefer you do by motion.
I'll move for that and see if we can get some discussion.
You want to discuss after the second?
Sure.
Second?
So I'm comfortable, I'm comfortable moving forward, but I don't think, to me, it's.
think you have a motion.
There's a motion and a
You can
second.
discuss.
And then we're gonna discuss.
And then you can discuss. So I'm leaning towards going ahead and approving it, but to me, I think there's other things that are, that are higher priority, so.
We could agendize those separately.
Yeah, go
ahead.
I guess the question is, and I hate approving things to bring back, but would it make sense for us to authorize the study? How much guidance do you need from us as to the scope? I mean, it seems to me like we're not very well suited as individuals with no expertise in this area to give you any sort of specific guidance and scope. You've actually given us probably more information than personally, that I could come up with. So I think, is it just a matter of authorizing the proceeding with the RFP process and getting the study, or do you need more guidance than that?
I don't think I need more guidance, but certainly it's up to the council. If you'd like us to come back with the scope before we do the RFP, we can certainly.
That wasn't in my motion.
Bring that back. So that's an option. At some point when we do the RFP and we do get back the results and we do select a vendor, because this is not a budgeted expense, we would have to come back at that time of award of contract to do a budget appropriation as well from the downtown district funds.
Will those 5 bullet points potential scope that you were thinking, like analyzing?
It's the general theme of
Yeah.
what these things are. The scope will be much more detailed than that.
Okay.
But yes.
I guess where I'm maybe just be more transparent. I guess what I don't want to happen is if there's folks here who have specific things they want included in this study, I don't want the RFP process to happen. You come back with a contract and have someone say, but wait, I want this to also cover X. And so I think we should at least agree amongst us that the general outlay of what you've put in the agenda report as to what the study would cover is what we want it to cover, because that will waste a lot of time if we've gone through an RFP that doesn't have the right scope.
So those 5 bullets are sort of the general framework. Obviously, staff will have more specific task items and scope that will be included in the RFP. But if there are specific criteria that the council would like us to evaluate, I would request, we could take that feedback now and include that, or we can draft the scope and bring the scope back. It's up
So
to
I
the
think
council.
Councilmember Gossel's was not to bring it back, was to bring it back at contract, is what I'm hearing. Is that right?
Well, I didn't say, I just said we authorized the city manager to do a study and pay for it with the assessment district.
Okay.
And, specifically.
Let them give them as much discretion as they can use.
And since it's, paid through the assessment district, I think, one of the things that I'm not sure that's bulleted within the report is really kind of have a lens of how do we promote, through parking, how do we promote more patronage of our businesses, yet have some turnover. I guess that's one and the same. So, if you're getting if you go into the bottle shop and you run into somebody and you talk for 15 minutes and then you buy your 6-pack of beer for $13.99, then that becomes $114 6-pack, right?
Right.
We wanted to not have that because then, I'm not going to go back there, right? Not that I'll still go back there, but I'm just saying, we don't, we want to avoid some of that, I think.
Yeah.
But again, my point, I was trying to be funny, but my point is, for using funds from there, it's not, yes, we're looking at that area, but yes, we're also want to encourage, figure out ways to encourage patronage of our businesses, our retail, yeah. Here, that's the only thing I have to add to it.
Under Councilmember Goss's motion, I understand that to mean that the city manager has the authority to execute within the signing authority, and he'd only be bringing it back if it's above $75,000, the contract.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But
Even with a potential budget amendment?
But I'd still need the budget amendment. Yeah.
Okay.
So we would just do it all at the same time.
Got it.
You had a second?
Yeah, there's a second, so this, unless there's, any other, so I mean.
Does this, it's not a capital improvement, or is it?
No.
Would it hit our GAN?
Oh.
It's not, it's a personal
No.
service. No.
No, and it's not general fund either.
Okay, because it is from an assessment district, okay.
Yep.
Good.
So my only other thing in addition to what Councilmember Garcia said is just make sure we're thinking about EVs and EV charging.
Sure.
On it. So with that, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right. We'll move on.
Can I just say, I really don't want the PD to take away from this, that they put work into this for naught. I mean, because I think, to the mayor's point earlier, like, where did the impetus for the traffic information come from? It came from the public as a result of all of the outreach that you did. And so I think that was highly valuable, and I hope that the residents felt like there was an opportunity to provide that feedback. So I don't want this to be like, oh, we did all this work and we've rejected the pilot, but I think it's come to a better solution.
Thank you very much. That I will echo that. I think that's a really good point. All right, we're on to the next item on the agenda, which is the emergency power generator.
Again, good evening, everyone. It is recommended that the City Council discuss and provide direction to the City Manager on the replacement of the emergency power generator used to provide backup power generation at City Hall and for emergency services operations. Alternatives: procure and install a new permanent stationary generator, continue reliance on a temporary rental generator. The advantages for installing a new permanent generator would be provides long-term reliability and ensures compliance with current environmental standards. Advantages in providing a temporary rental generator: provides immediate compliant backup power without initial capital outlay. Analysis: the existing generator presents three principal challenges. Reliability: at nearly 80 years old, the generator cannot be relied upon to start or maintain operations during extended utility outages. Its mechanical systems are deteriorated, and replacement parts are no longer available. Regulatory compliance: the generator predates all modern standards and does not meet current South Coast Air Quality Management District requirements. Operational impacts: to maintain continuity of operations, the city is currently utilizing a rental generator positioned in the main walkway of the City Hall parking lot. While this unit provides compliant power, it creates safety and accessibility concerns and incurs an ongoing cost of $2,700 per week, in addition to the initial emergency installation charge of $6,840. This concludes my presentation. At this time, I'll take any questions the council may have.
Great. Questions?
Yeah, just to put it in the public record, because I don't know that everybody reads the staff report, could you just give us a general sense of what the cost of I mean, you've given us the rental cost, but could you also recite for the folks listening or watching later what the cost of the new permanent generator would be, roughly speaking? I know you just have some estimates.
Gladly. There are two types of generators in question here. We have a Tier 3 diesel along with a Tier 4 diesel. A Tier 3 is exactly what is out there right now. Slightly smaller, able to provide energy to our current facilities here. A Tier 4, much larger, more industrial, higher potential as far as providing power. My recommendation would be a Tier 3, which is at $233,800, which includes the unit itself, $150,225, along with an optional 800 amp transfer switch for $8,575. Extraction and installation at $75,000 to give you that $233,800 total. Yes.
So the Tier 3 says it takes 10 months to order. The Tier 4 says it takes 4 to 6 months. So even at the worst case scenario, let's say the Tier 4 takes 6 months. In rental costs, that's $48,000 we're paying in renting the temporary diesel generator. So that's pretty much the same as the difference between the Tier 4 and the Tier 3 generator. And we'd be getting it sooner, our own, and it's a higher capacity.
And it's cleaner.
And it's cleaner.
Are those questions?
Yeah, and the question is?
So is why, I guess, what is the validation for recommending the Tier 3?
Just smaller and based on the area that we're talking about. It's a very confined space based on the amount of outages, along with regulation compliances too. Also, there is what's appropriate for the amount of power that's being used within our grid here. If that makes sense.
At the moment, not including any upgrades over the years. I mean, we do plan on increasing or changing our fire department, police department in the future.
Yes.
So would that Tier 3 suffice for what we would probably need in the future?
That is correct. It will.
How many quotes did you were you able to go out and get for this?
We received 2 quotes at this time, which are the ones that are shown here.
And is that typical for this, or if going forward, would you go and get more quotes?
I would like to at least receive one more quote, just to get that oddball third one.
So the 2 quotes, so one quote was for a Tier 3 and the other was a Tier 4. So the company wouldn't give you a quote for a Tier 3 and a Tier 4? I'm just trying to think like you know, if you're going to an equipment company, I'd imagine they'd have both Tier 3, Tier 4. I'm trying to understand, like, when you're going to get the quote, if there's only companies that do Tier 3s and only companies that do Tier 4s, or would someone be able to do both so we can get a better idea of cost and timeline?
Companies are able to do both. That is a good point there. I can provide to the council additional numbers regarding a Tier 4 and a Tier 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for the purposes of discussion tonight, we were just seeking council's direction in terms of how you'd like us to proceed. We will certainly do more diligence in terms of trying to find the appropriate number of vendors and quotes that are aligned with our procurement policy, right? But because of the emergent nature of all of this, we weren't necessarily able to do all of the due diligence that we would normally do in terms of reaching out to a wide variety of vendors. We just wanted to bring this to you as quickly as we could within the timelines of the council schedule so that we can get direction and then move forward with the replacement.
Can you expand on the space? Because to me, going back to Mayor Pro Tem's question, it's kind of a no-brainer to get the Tier 4, but it sounds like there's downside to it as far as maybe the space. It's going to be larger, because I'd rather have more capacity and be 90% cleaner if we can, and it's going to be just as cheap if we take the rental. If we look at the rental portion of it.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, in the staff report, you mentioned it's a little more complicated and the upkeep is a little more complicated. So does that infer that the maintenance cost will be much more, or would the maintenance cost be similar on a yearly basis?
I wouldn't say much more, but slightly higher, correct. Along with, should we go with a tier 4, it will require additional construction costs in
So that's the other question, yeah.
preparing the area. The area I'm talking about is right outside the building here. There's some stairs that go into our fire facility. So behind those stairs, and mind you that there is a slight overhang of the roof, protection wall which surrounds the electrical panels, etc. So demolition of all that, preparing the ground with concrete slab, etc.
Will we lose any square footage to our public safety building either way, or will it build out into the open space?
No loss to the actual facility itself. It'll be a build out towards the north, going north.
Okay.
So then why is the estimation for extraction and installation still the same? It says 75,000 for both. Wouldn't it therefore be more than 75,000 for the tier 4?
It's Mayor Pro Tem, it's an estimate at 75,000.
So, when you, with either one of these, would we be able to use the current fuel tank?
Yes, sir. A tank is a tank. It still complies with regulations.
It's large enough and it meets all the regulations, and it could be reused in this case, so we wouldn't have to replace the fuel tank?
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
And that discussion was talked about with the vendors.
Okay. Other questions?
Questions?
All right, so we'll go ahead and open this up for public comment. Madam City Clerk, do we have any comment cards for public comment?
None were submitted, Mr. Mayor.
And any emails?
No emails.
We'll go ahead and close for public comment. Close public comment and move to discussion. Who'd like to start?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
This is an unbudgeted item. We're going to have to dip into reserves for it. This is why we have reserves, right, for emergencies. We've had this generator for 80 years. I mean, kudos to us and to the builder of that it lasted as long as it did, and we haven't had to face this before now. I personally, and it sounds like there's a little bit of a groundswell of support, think that we should not go on the cheap on this, and that we should hopefully last another 80 years and spend, an incremental roughly $50,000 more of today's money to get, more capacity and a cleaner situation. And that would be my sense. To me, once you're already talking about emergency funds coming out of the reserves, to me that extra $50,000, while I'm mindful of it, also just seems to me prudent for the long-term range, and then we shouldn't be in this situation, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from now when we are doing different things, within the city with respect to, capacity and, future plans. I feel like we should build in the extra capacity now.
I agree, and plus with the difference in the rental cost, it would be very close.
Yeah, although I would say that that's based on these two quotes, and it sounds like they're going to get more quotes. So I personally wouldn't base it on that, because who knows if the ultimate one that we get, if we do go with the tier 4, the estimate might be different, right? So I wasn't going to hang it so much on that, but I appreciate the
I also appreciate that if it's an emergency situation and it's gone down, that the 4 to 6 months to install something that's permanent for us and not using a temporary trailer generator makes me feel much more comfortable and safer.
Yeah, I have no interest in continuing on a long-term basis the rental.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, my feeling would be to do what's most cost effective. I mean, I did the same calculation on the rental, and if you can get a cleaner generator for approximately the same cost, I'm good with that. I'd like to have the smaller the generator, but that's outweighed by the time frame and the cost. So I guess I think we need a motion on this, or do you just need discussion? You want a motion?
I would prefer a motion, direction to proceed with bringing back to council a purchase order for the acquisition of a tier 4 generator.
Moved.
Second.
Doesn't necessarily need to be tier 4, I think.
Yeah, I guess.
Back to.
I took from the conversation that tier 4 was the preference.
Yes.
If these are the only two quotes we have,
Right.
yes.
Yeah, that's
No, we also
that's not
made
mine.
it cleaner. and it's more
But
efficient.
but
Yeah,
mine
so I
is.
think we should, yeah, because I think the mayor actually said something slightly different. He
Yeah.
said that he was in favor of the
The
tier
smaller
4
one.
based on the math that works with these quotes. I was saying that I'm in favor of a tier 4 either way.
Yeah.
Because I
Right.
think actually the incremental cost, unless it's exponentially higher than the differential here, obviously, but then we would just go with this one. But,
You amortize it over 80 years.
yeah, I mean, I sort of feel like the incremental cost, even if it doesn't make sense from a timing perspective with the rental, I would still be in favor of putting the investment in today. So maybe that's not universal, so we should probably talk about that.
And so the, let's flip the timeframes. So if the timeframe was 4 to 6 months for the tier 3, would that change your thought? Okay.
No, I feel like the extra investment in the extra capacity and the cleaner generator is worth it to me, sort of irrespective of the, the effect on the, we're gonna have to continue to rent the temporary one regardless, obviously, so that's just, we're not deciding on that, we have to have it.
Right.
So to me, that the interplay between the rental cost and the cost of the more expensive generator that's not part of my calculus in terms of the extra
Even
expenditure.
if the rental cost ends up costing a whole lot more, so if you end up getting a tier 3 in say 6 months, and the tier 4 is in 10 months, and it ends up costing us $500,000 versus $300,000, you're comfortable with the $500,000?
That's not presented before us, like, that's not.
I understand that, but that's part of the direction that we can get to give, because
So
we only have 2 quotes here,
I
right?
agree with Kelly. I would like to have the higher capacity, cleaner energy backup generator.
Okay.
I appreciate that it's faster according to these quotes. I appreciate that it is the faster as well. That's an extra. But I agree with the capacity.
Okay.
I also trust that the city manager and our public works director can make these
Yes.
types of calculus, and that
Yes.
will not go with a $1 million generator. So
Less capacity.
that's available 3 years from now. So.
Yeah.
So to me, I like the motion that I'm comfortable with is a motion for the most cost-effective one. That's what I'm comfortable with. I'm not I'm not swayed by the tier 4.
Says an environmentalist. It's diesel anyway, right? That's
Well,
what.
that's the issue. It's a smaller engine, right? So then you're trading off NOx versus CO2. That's the calculation in my mind. But ultimately, to me, it comes down to cost. So I'm comfortable with something on a cost basis, but not on a size basis.
So we have conflicting
Yeah,
motions.
so if there's a motion and a second already on the floor, and the mayor, I think, is making a substitute motion, so the substitute motion, we need a second,
Okay.
if there is one.
Personally, I'd prefer voting on the
Okay.
initial motion, because I would probably vote no on the mayor's substitution, so,
Okay.
which is fine.
There's no second, then it
problem
dies, Mayor.
voting no.
That's fine.
I
All right.
am for the tier 4 too.
Okay. So then we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? So motion carries. Great.
We got through it.
All right, last item on the agenda, we've got the ad hoc sporting event committee. Supervisor Taggart.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. Community Service Supervisor Ted Taggart. And that's actually one of my first questions. I'll be seeking direction tonight on the formation of a major sporting events ad hoc committee. The name might be my first look for direction, but we'll talk about that later. Over the next few years, the Los Angeles region will be host some of the world's largest sporting events. In 2026, it'll be the FIFA World Cup. In 2027, it'll be the NFL's Super Bowl. And in 2028, the Summer Olympic and Paralympic Games. These events are expected to draw millions of visitors, generate global media attention, and bring significant economic opportunities to Southern California. Sierra Madre, with its close proximity to Los Angeles, and also with Pasadena, the Rose Bowl, the Aquatic Center, and Azusa, has a chance to participate in this energy and benefit from the regional activity. We're looking for direction tonight on the formation of that committee and the goals. The goals for the committee would be local programming, develop Sierra Madre-based activities such as watch parties, cultural festivals, and community celebrations that align with these international events. Business engagement, explore ways for local shops, restaurants, and others to provide benefit, to receive benefit from increased regional tourism. Regional coordination, build partnerships with the LA28 Olympic Committee, the FIFA World Cup host committee, and the neighboring cities to maximize collaboration. Also, civic pride.
create inclusive opportunities for residents to come together and strengthen Sierra Madre's identity and community spirit. The proposed committee structure would be to be appointed by the City Council. The committee would include community members, business representation, liaisons from city commissions such as Transportation, Senior Community, and the Community Services Commission. It would be temporary in nature, dissolving after the conclusion of the 2020 Olympic Games, unless authorized by City Council. And then the other part is also looking at our short-term rentals in the city. They're right now currently not allowed to have any kind of rentals under 30 days. So it might be something you'd like to consider for bringing in more people. More. There are no hotels, there are no motels, so the short-term rentals are the only way to really bring those kinds of fees in. That concludes my report. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Yes.
So I heard a little murmuring. So as far as that restriction, it's my understanding it's from the municipal code that's in the staff report. It's just for ADUs and JADUs.
Yeah.
If a primary resident can be rented for residents can be rented for less than 30 days.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Other questions?
I think.
Yes.
Mayor, I just want to remind the council about the rules regarding ad hoc committees, and they matter because ad hoc committees are not subject to the Brown Act, so they can meet virtually and they don't have to be noticed and all that. So it has to be advisory only, less than, for a limited time that you set, so it should expire after something. Limited scope, and either it's going to be a less than a quorum of this body, or if you want to exempt it from the Brown Act completely, it can be a staff-created committee in the same way we did for the ad hoc for the fiscal revenue. But you can't merge them. So if there's council members and there's members of the public together on one committee, it'll qualify as a Brown Act. It'll qualify as a legislative body for Brown Act purposes.
If there's 3 or more council members, or if there's even one?
If there's even one.
Okay. Does that count for commissions as well, if there's commissioners on it?
If there's commissioners on it?
Like
Community services.
If the community service has a representative, does that create the same problem?
I'll have to check.
Okay. I mean, look, I mean, that just changes the nature of the appointments, right?
Right.
Or the nature of who does the appointing.
And speaking of community services, and maybe even senior in this, is have you thought about how this ad hoc would interact with them, how they would interface with each other?
I have thought about that. I guess the question came down to if they were on the committee or not, how it would work. But I think interaction with those commissions would be appropriate, especially with their knowledge of the area, and whether we bring them to the meetings as presentations, throughout the month, or how that would work. I've not fully gone through that, but that was definitely a thought.
And so, like, if we had a local programming that typically goes through either the community services or the senior commission, so would this end up being competing with it? Would it they come up with ideas and then it goes through the community services to get executed, or how like what's the? I want to make sure we don't get conflicts right off from the bat, and we've got competitive programming coming on at the same time.
Obviously, I would take direction, but my thought was to, as I would be the liaison to all of these groups, so I would be taking the information from the committee and then bringing it to the commissions as reports to give them information about it, and to avoid those competition.
Well, that would I think address the city attorney's point about it needing to be advisory, right? This would not be a body that would take action on its own to
correct
commit the city to an event or waive permit fees or all of the things that our commissions do.
Yeah, you mostly took advise staff and divide the commissions that are already working on those events. And I might want to add, I forgot to add it in the beginning part. I was at the National Parks and Recreation Conference last week in Orlando, and there were a lot of groups talking about this. For example, Kansas City is taking a games in the Arrowhead Stadium, and even those cities are not getting a lot of information yet from the different groups. So it is, I think December is when they choose the classes for World Cup, and then the games start in June. So there's still quite a bit of information not being given out to cities yet. For like watch parties, for licensing fees and things like that. So there is still more information coming that the committee would have to look at.
Got it. Okay. All right. But even if it was an advisory body, what I'm hearing, and we're getting confirmation, is if a council member's on it, it automatically becomes subject to Brown.
Unless it's a city manager appointed and or city staff appointed and the city staff appoints one or more of the council members, right? That would.
The council members cannot serve on this committee.
So how does the ad hoc, aren't you guys?
Because it has to follow the Brown Act.
I thought you guys are on the ad hoc revenue committee.
Right, and there's an ad hoc transportation, and two of us serve on the ad hoc transportation.
Are you saying we're in violation?
Probably shouldn't have it.
And the library.
The library.
So we have 3 ad hocs already that would have council on it.
Probably shouldn't be sitting as a member that's going to render a recommendation.
Oh, yeah.
Like you in the same way that all you council members are liaisons to commissions, you can have a liaison role and report back to the city council, but it violates the spirit of the ad hoc.
And I might add, I believe Councilmember Krebs is sitting on is it the COG has so there's also that commission as well.
Yeah, that's different, I think. And that they think they are actually complying with the Brown Act. I mean, we have in-person meetings and they're taking minutes and they have official designations.
So I think for the ad hoc library, you're just reporting back. You're not really sitting.
No.
Yeah.
I'm just
And
reporting.
I do ask a lot of questions in the finance one, but I'm not driving the boat by any means. So I feel like we're just reporting back. We're not, I don't think we're gonna give direction on what policy the ad hoc committee should provide. We're just kind of there to provide historical perspective and what the council and things that the council has talked about from the dais and those types of things.
That's fine.
So I think we're okay.
So instead of assigning, say, a council member to this, we'll just assign a liaison.
Or you can assign 2 council members.
But they can't.
As liaison.
And then abide by the Brown Act.
As the committee. If you wanted to have a committee.
It's a committee versus an ad hoc.
If you wanted to have an ad hoc committee, you can assign either 2 council members, because that's less than a quorum. Or in the alternative, you can just turn this over to the city manager, and the city manager can make his appointments.
Okay.
None of which should consist of council members.
Unless they're liaisons.
Unless they have some liaison.
Yeah, but not like part of the committee.
Yeah,
just-
not decision makers, not ones providing the advisory opinion or recommendation.
So we've got an ad hoc, which only has liaisons, and a subcommittee of the council, which has council plus community?
It can only,
Didn't have council.
I'm just reading it right now. It says it must be composed solely of members of the legislative body.
Okay.
I don't think that's the direction we want to go in.
Well,
I mean, I think to
we're-
me it
we're-
seems the
we're-
purpose.
We're moving to discussion,
Yeah, no,
so
but that's a question. That doesn't seem to be.
Okay.
That doesn't
Thank
seem
you.
to be the purpose of this. This is not a legislative body subcommittee. You're looking for something more community oriented for.
Yeah, my thought was,
coordination.
staff can obviously come up with ideas and sort of knows the tone of the city and what they're looking for, but getting business partners, getting, merchants owners, involved might seem to increase the buy-in and, and in the direction we go.
Right, and I assume like community coordination is
Correct.
part of the goal, is one of the goals
Absolutely.
as well, correct?
Absolutely.
All right, any other questions from council? Great, we'll open up for public comment. Do we have any members of the public that would like to comment on this?
We have one letter.
There was one email received, Mr. Mayor, and that was forwarded to the city council in advance of the meeting.
Great. All right. Discussion.
Can I just get the one item about the short-term rentals? I feel like that's something that I would like to hear more public input on, so to the extent that we're going to look at a moratorium or any sort of changes to the short-term rental policy, because I could definitely see a full spectrum of opinions on this. I could feel like there's people that might be very much in favor of the idea of monetizing during the, unique experience, certainly during the Olympics and maybe even during World Cup. And I could see a whole host of folks being against and wanting to actually strengthen it so that we have less, short-term rental during that period. So I would suggest that we refer that to planning to have an actual, public or here, either way, but that seems like a planning commission
I like that.
sort of direction to them have to collect the public opinion on this and give us a recommendation.
Okay. Okay. Other thoughts? Yeah, I think we truly want to have the public part of this. I don't think it should be a legislative body. thing, and I think with former Councilmember Arizmendi wanting to do on it, I think she's an ideal person to bring that energy. She wanted to be on the COG committee, so I think, and with her role as in the chamber, I think we found a chair.
But that's not, correct me if I'm wrong, part of this would be that you're appointing, if we make sure it's not a legislative body, city manager would be appointing all members.
Yeah, I thought I don't care which way it goes, but the ad hoc, do you appoint them, or does it come before council, or what's
No.
the?
Well, the ad hoc committee was already established prior to my arrival, so.
Appointed by Jose.
Yes,
Or
appointed
Mr.
by Jose.
No, hold on. No, I'm talking about when we're talking about an ad hoc sporting events.
Yes.
So when you do, if we did an ad hoc, we want community involvement.
Right.
It is a city manager's committee, is that what it is?
Staff, right?
Per the city attorney, that would be the recommendation.
Okay.
But what we would do is, similar to boards and commissions, we would open it up to the community, solicit applications, go through the interview process, gauge interest, and then select a committee of 5 to 7 individuals and then move forward.
Great.
I mean, it seems to me too that part of the purpose of this is to coordinate efforts among the groups in our city that puts on events, right? I mean, like we have a number, we've heard about all of them today, right? That put on events, and I think it'd be great to then have those organizations coordinating events so that we don't have competing, like the community services wants to do this and the event committee wants to do that, and like just provide a forum by which all of those groups, to the extent that we want to have like a unified, just to use the Olympics as an example, unified month-long, or whatever, a summer-long, Olympics themed thing that everybody could then bring their ideas, and then we could kind of parcel out, like Kiwanis do this and this do that, so that way we're like maximizing and we're not duplicating. And so to the extent that you want to have representation, kind of like the library ad hoc, which is sort of bringing in, representation from all of the stakeholders, like that would be another way to go as well.
Great.
Or both.
Yeah. Do we want to give any guidance about who should be on it? I mean, we've got one volunteer. Do we want to give any? We can't. We can't. Okay.
No.
Great. Then okay. But then do we need to provide now a liaison, or do we wait till it's formed, or how does that?
You can make that determination now if you'd like.
Okay. Well, I think it makes sense to. I think we know who the liaison should be. I mean, I think Councilmember Creeves.
It would make sense because of the. At least with respect to the
Coordination.
Olympics, because of the
Right.
COG involvement. So yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Okay. Great. Any other discussion? So, why don't we have a motion to form to empower the city manager to form an ad hoc sporting events committee?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We're on to the future agenda items. Does anybody have any future items for a future agenda? I think I mentioned this at the last meeting, but mine is, I'd like to understand a strategy around transportation. How the components fit together, where we're going. I'm not in any hurry on it, but I'd like to see, so at the bare minimum for me, so I understand what the different components are and what we've done and how they're gonna fit together, so we don't have this patchwork system.
On that note, more specifically and maybe a little bit more urgently, I'd love just an update, and maybe that can be done through our, one-on-ones, but I'd love an update on the status of the Transportation Subcommittee and their work around the dial-a-ride and the coach, because we've been hearing a lot about the lack of that, and I know that there's been meaningful roadblocks to the contracting process there, and it just would be good for us to have a sense of where that's at and what the plan is going forward.
Yeah, I would agree with you. There should be some definite urgency to that. Anything else? Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned until November, what?
October
12th? October? Thank you, not November. All right.
Congratulations, Mr. Mayor. You beat the over-under.
Yes, you did.
by 5 minutes.
Yep.
By 5 minutes.
And I
There were
did
two
not think it was
staff
gonna happen.
members who picked the under.
And you don't tell him what it is, right?
We
'Cause
didn't.
he could definitely.
No.
You told
Did I?
me,
I
you
thought
told
I
me
said
what it
nine.
was, but I was not.
You were paying attention. I think I said 9:30, not
Oh,
9.
you can't tell him.
I thought the budget book was gonna go long. I thought